We're live.
Yeah, we are. Yes, welcome back to Ball Over Passion. I think everybody's seen the scenes of that game that just happened. If you don't know, I don't know where you're living, but yeah, France just lost to Switzerland on penalties. And before we get into it, I just want to introduce everybody who's in it. So we got Karen,
What's up, guys? What just happened?
Z,
Who?
Z is, and
Me.
and George.
God damn it.
How we doing, lads? That's kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't catch the game. I was working, but I was following the pens with the earpiece. The lads are giving me the play-by-play, and wow, there's a lot to talk about. The implications of what that means. That's all I'm gonna say, because I've been telling people for time about France. France and what would happen in this tournament. I didn't think it would be this early, but man.
Yeah, it's a bit mad. It's a bit mad.
Yeah. What was the score? 5-4 on pens, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Killing
Mbappe, the best in the world, Mbappe just missed a pen. I think a lot of people will bloat this and attack him, but I think it'll be beneficial to him in the future, definitely.
Well, he needed this, right? I think there was a lot of people that were going quite high on him in terms of his achievements right now. And fundamentally, when you look at it, this was his biggest moment to date, right? And no matter how much you might feel on talent ID and projection, at the end of the day, the big players are judged by these moments. And you can't not be in shock with it. And, he's going to have to pick himself up. But this is a big black mark early on a career. And you know what? You can't be doing this if you want to be considered among the best of the best, right? These are the moments that you got to step up to. So this is huge. Make no mistake about it. I think he's failed at the biggest moment in his career to date. It really has. But yeah, no, it's been a brilliant day of football. I got mad stuff to catch up on.
Yeah, Z-lagged. Z-lagged.
Okay, yeah, he did score in the World Cup final in 2018, but as I've said before, I think that's been the peak of his career so far. And I think he's stagnated since.
To be fair, if you look at his demeanor this whole tournament, man, he looked a bit too cocky for my liking. Honestly, I don't know what it was, but every time I looked at him, I was like, bro, I love it. Like, take that smirk off your face.
Even in the interviews, it was the same way.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I need a cigar for this. This is peak. This is peak smoking. This is the peak pack.
But mate, lads, like when you look back, like today has been crazy. Has there been a Euros round of 16 drama like this before? Think about it. The tournament's been kind of starved of goals.
13 goals today.
There's 13 goals, plus more if you count the penalty drama. It's absolutely mad. France going is huge. It's huge. It really is. I think Deschamps loses his job from it, which he should.
He should, 100%.
But look, lads, no offense, like they had enough to beat Switzerland. Let's not make excuses here. Like
Switzerland were dominating them until Benzema just turned up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, Switzerland controlled the game. They even got a penalty, then they missed, and then Benzema just scored like 2 goals in 2 minutes and flipped the game on its head. So
you know when you watch a game and you realize from the first minute, like that team is definitely winning. I just felt that with Switzerland that entire game. So come on, man. England have big chance now, man.
Not even a chance. It was already theirs to lose, right? It was already theirs to lose. Now there's no excuses. You can't have an excuse for England at this point. You really can't. Like the biggest competition.
And they're on the easier side.
Look, lads, like the worst team that they're going to face is the winner of Italy and Belgium, right? That's going to be their final. And between those two teams, what do you mean possibly? Who do you think could possibly get going?
With today, you just don't know. You just don't know. My guy Xhaka.
I'm not gonna predict this. I'm not gonna do this now. But when we do our predictions for the eventual semi-final or final, it's looking a bit peak out. I mean, I think there's still a couple of upsets to go. I don't think this is going to be plain sailing.
Mate, this is the biggest upset.
Maybe that's the biggest one. That's the biggest one.
This is definitely the biggest one.
That is the biggest one.
There can't be
There
a bigger
can be a
upset
bigger
than
one
this.
actually. There can.
Who?
If Czech Republic beat Germany or England.
No, I don't think so. I think Czech Republic are a good team. If they beat England, maybe, yeah. But Germany, no way.
This guy's obsessed with Czech Republic.
Well, I lived there for almost a decade.
Czech Republic are good. They are a good team. They've got
No. I'm not.
I
I do think they make the semis, but I don't think they get to the final. No, I think they are the Iceland of this tournament. I think they have a spirited run to the semis.
I don't know, mate. Denmark's a serious team. They got to worry about that.
And how much talk did we hear about Netherlands being serious?
Well, Netherlands, I said, look, it's all Frankie de Jong. That's the issue with the Netherlands, right? Like, they had no real output machine. They had no reference. And that was the issue with them in the whole tournament. And then they were in a group, right, that was pretty easy. And Frankie de Jong had an immense tournament up to date, right? Like, to be able to drag that team to the heights that he did was impressive because they're very dead in general.
Very dead.
So they did well to do that. But, mate, Denmark are a serious team. I'm telling you, the pressing structure, I was really impressed with them. They were probably my surprise of the tournament, them and Hungary. I
am so tempted to make a quick run out and get a cigar. I'm so tempted because that upset deserves a proper pack being smoked. That was one hell of a performance.
Go again. You went all robotic on us.
Yeah.
I said, you telling me you didn't see it coming?
I didn't see which? France?
Yeah, France losing.
No, of course. I said it in the prediction, but not this early. Not against Switzerland.
I was with George. I thought it was against Italy.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know, man. It's just the way I am as well, isn't it? I always go against the norm. So I was just like, please, Switzerland win. Please, Switzerland win.
No, but the thing is, I'm not going to lie to you and change my opinion. They were my favorites. I had them winning this.
Yeah, I was overruled.
I
was overruled on the prediction. I thought they were definitely going out. I 100% knew France were going out this tournament. Like 100%.
I did predict they'll go out on pens, but I thought it would be to Italy, not to Switzerland.
Logic. I just thought with the mentality coaching and how that team is, I just thought they know how to win that team, and I just thought that was that. If I talk
Look,
about
lads, I'm still kind of in shock in terms of what it means, but I think we should have a XHAKA discussion and a breakdown because, look, you know, I think when you're looking at that as a player right now, and obviously there's a lot of interest in terms of the transfers, we know that, but having an overview of what he does, I think, is an important discussion, an important debate, because I think a ton of people right now have a lot of different views on him. I know I've been very clear about being kind of a good supporter of him, but he has his limits. But I think we should have that discussion.
I mean, with XHAKA, it's a case that, as I said, I tweeted this earlier. You can have someone that's a great player individually, but if you surround him with people that don't fit his style of play, then he's not going to thrive. And the culture that we've created at the club over the past 3 or 4 years mentally it's done him. The fan base has done him. He just seems lost and he seems broken at the moment. And it's like sort of like a Bale with Wales sort of effect. He's sort of gone to his national team and just he's seen friendly people and just had that mentality boost because the quality was always there. Even at Werder Bremen, it was there.
You mean Mönchengladbach?
Yeah, that's not Mönchengladbach. I was thinking Werder Bremen is wrong. I was thinking in my head Werder Bremen is definitely wrong. But what was the actual team? Yeah, Mönchengladbach. Thank you. Yeah. The quality was always there. It's just it just seems like it wasn't. Sometimes some of these players just are not good fits for us, and it just shows.
Well, look, my overall, I've been really clear. I've been a defender of XHAKA because I don't think he gets a fair shake, to be honest with you, where I've always said he's a 7 out of 10 player, but he represents everything that we need to move on from. So he's a great player in his own right, and he has his own limitations. And I'm not going to sit there and deny the past revisionism where he hasn't been an important player for us. I think people kind of refute what he's done this season. This isn't new. If you've seen XHAKA at any time this season, this consistency isn't new from the tournament. He was always going to have a great tournament. But at the same time, I feel with a nuanced view, you can think, listen, we need him to move on and to close the door because we're looking for something different in midfield for this team to move on. But I still think it's really disingenuous to not kind of credit Granit for the praise he does deserve. He's a good player. He's not shit. I don't believe in that. I think he's a 7 out of 10, but has clear athletic limitations that limit what you can do in midfield. And I don't think that's his fault. And, you know, as much as we play to a system that really doesn't benefit him, I think to say he's a crap player is kind of disingenuous. He's going to go to Syria and be one of the best players in Syria.
Yes,
no doubt.
No doubt.
When the play is slowed, when he's faced with, less counter pressing, and all he has to do is progress the ball. If you think Manuel Locatelli looks good in Syria, Granit Xhaka is going to absolutely outshine him.
The thing is with Xhaka, he's not. You're completely right. He's not a shit player. He's a very, very decent player, but there are clear things that limit him in the Premier League. Mm-hmm. You can see that his disciplinary issues are extreme. His inability to get rid of the ball in certain areas, at certain points, as highlighted by that Burnley goal. He has these bozo moments, and in the Premier League, you get exposed by that. It's quite clear. So, if you don't have it for the Premier League, you shouldn't be in the Premier League, and he doesn't have it in the Premier League.
I think he just needs to move away, man. Honestly, I think he's a good player. I think he's a good player. He's good for what he does. He's had good European tournaments as well, but I just don't see him being in the right environment, and that's Arsenal. It just doesn't suit him. It doesn't suit him. I think the bridges are already burnt with Arsenal as well. And I don't think he has a good relationship with the fans. And I think he wants to leave. Let's let him go. We can move on. Let's stop acting like we cannot move beyond Granit Xhaka. Let's not pretend like that happens, because the moment he leaves, we'll find an alternative and we'll move on. Let's not pretend that he's the player that we need for our future, because he isn't. He hasn't been for the past 4 years. He won't be now, and that's how I feel.
Well, the trouble that I have with that, Z mate, is on the same token, I've got people telling me that they want a Locatelli, or they want players in the same mold that, unfortunately, if you do want to move on from him, which I'm on record for saying, this is not how I want our midfield. I don't want us being outrun anymore. And I think he's emblematic of everything we got to move on from. But it gets frustrating when you then hear shouts of a Locatelli, because we've got to understand the limits of these defensive deep-lying playmakers. Because fundamentally, the best person on the market that combined both was Boubakary Soumaré. He was, in terms of being a conductor, but also able to engage in the 1v1 duels. When you have somebody that's a deep-lying playmaker, you have to understand these are the limits. They have a limit in the first 5 yards. And so if you want to employ somebody like that, we need to seriously start thinking about, as a fan base, how to best support that. And I just think he gets an unfair shake in terms of the criticism. I think everybody knows his limits. I don't think we've used him to the best. I think Arteta's got the best out of him because he knows how to use him. And, I just think that on one hand, you can be upset about what he's done in the past, but to kind of hammer him about what he's done physically in the shirt, I think it's kind of preposterous, to be honest. He's been one of our most important players, not the most, but one of them this season in terms of how we play. And I don't see that stopping. He is peaking. We know that these types kind of peak later in age. So if we're letting him move on, I hope it's something different. It better not be for something similar, because let's be honest, right now, there isn't much better than Granit Xhaka in that role right now. That's also a fact. So if you want something else, it has to be a different profile. We can't be going backwards.
Does this game affect his price, do you guys feel?
No, not for me, because I think the teams that are interested in him don't have the money. So for me, while I think we can sit there and claim, look, he's had a great tournament, and you'd like to hope that, the interested teams don't have the money. So for me, I don't think it really kind of improves his price or anything like that.
I think it may affect his stature or how he's seen, because he's leading a team past who were seen as juggernauts in France. And the next team he faces, I'm not sure who he faces. I think it's Croatia. No, Spain. He's going to face Spain, yeah. So,
and he'll do great against Spain, and that's the problem. We're gonna go to the other side. While I've given him his praise, I guarantee you now you're going to see that XHAKA's the best in the world, and you're going to start seeing these shouts. Because we like to do this as fans. We're really recency biased in terms of it, but. Look, I think he'll have a great tournament against Spain, and, that's a great matchup for Switzerland in general. Seferovic will do very well. It all depends on if the clinical edge that we saw in Spain today carries over, right? Because, this has been the opposite of what Spain showed throughout the entire tournament. They've had great structure, good play, but they've lacked efficiency. I called it M&M, jokingly. Moreno and Morata have been diabolical in front of goal. And then, they sit there and they produce this kind of performance today, 5-3, very good patterns. And you know what? They were efficient in both boxes. So it's a tough one. But you know what? I could see Switzerland doing well against the Spanish, because this is the type of team that they do well against.
What do you think, Daniel and Gunnar express?
Yeah, Daniel,
hello guys. I'm just listening to your conversation, and I found it very interesting. I felt XHAKA played really well today. He did what he can. I know. As you guys know me, this is not actually my account. My name is Daniel, AFC News Insider. George, we're in the same group chat, and you know how Simon doesn't like XHAKA, and I was there defending him, saying, mate, you have to give credit where credit is due. XHAKA played well. He did everything I expected him to do. He's a big game player, XHAKA, and that's what I expect from him. But I think Arsenal fans saying he's now worth 60 million, saying he's now the best player in the world, I feel that's a bit, overboard. But yeah, I have to commend XHAKA. He did really well today. I wonder how Switzerland are going to perform against Spain, because Spain are very clinical and they're very good at creating chances. So it's going to be a good matchup for sure. If anything, this just makes me worried about the England game tomorrow. I don't know what about you guys against Germany. How are you guys feeling towards that?
I mean,
go on. With the right lineup, I think England could really damage Germany, especially if they go, because it looks like they're going to go man for man and 3-4-3. So I think England, if they do go man for man, it'll just be a thing about talent, really. And I think England eclipse Germany in terms of talent. So if England do play what I think is the best 11 in that formation, I think it'll be a very good win from England.
Yeah, I'm not worried if they go man for man. I did want to get Gunnar. I know me and him have some differing opinions, but I think this is one we agree with on XHAKA, where it's time to move on. Mate, do you think in terms of Granit XHAKA, we shouldn't be going for that same type as a sitter? Because I think I've made the argument before, we should look at either deep-lying playmakers, or we should look at 1v1 duel monsters. I've made my position clear about who I think I want going forward. But if we're moving on from Granit XHAKA, do you think we should be getting somebody in the same mold?
I'd say no. I think we need to be looking at someone who's a bit more fast. I think XHAKA, it isn't just the fact that he's slow in terms of speed and pace. It's more the fact that he just plays slow. Everything about him is slow. He needs time on the ball. He needs that space, and I think that's why he did well today. He got that. France didn't close him down quick enough. They gave him 10 to 12 seconds on the ball, and that's when he's going to start picking out them passes. XHAKA is a good footballer. He's a very underrated midfielder in terms of his ball playing, but you don't see it in the Premier League because it's just not his style. For me, I watch a lot of Gladbach, and I watched him a lot when he was at Gladbach before he was even linked to Arsenal, and he was brilliant. Everything about him was brilliant, and that's because the Bundesliga was suited to his style, and I think the Serie A, especially under Mourinho, will be very similar. So I already know what's going to happen. He's going to go to Serie A, probably get in the team of the season and perform incredibly well, get really great numbers, look really good on the eye test. And so many Arsenal fans are going to be crying for him to come back, when at the end of the day, it's nothing to do with Arsenal and the fact that we treated him wrongly or this and that. It's just he doesn't suit the Premier League. And again, that's not saying he's bad, because I think there's quite a few good world-class players out there that don't suit the Premier League. And obviously, I'm not calling XHAKA world-class, but I think he just needs to find the league that he's suited to. And again, under Jose Mourinho and in the Serie A, I think that is definitely a league that will, complement his play style. But I think Bissouma's the kind of player we need to be looking at. Someone tall, someone very, who can run over 5 to 15 yards, and someone who's just a bit of a brick. Someone who's just not going to let you run past him. He's gonna chase you. He's going to stop you. And I don't think XHAKA is that more than he is a ball playing DM, which is just not what we need.
Yeah, Gunnar Express raises a good point with this, with the fact that world class players cannot, maybe sometimes don't succeed in the Premier League. If you look at, for example, Juan Sebastian Veron didn't translate nearly to the monster that he was in Serie A to the Premier League. These things happen. So there's differences between there's differences between world class players and players that are suited to the Premier League. For example, someone like, I don't know, someone that works very well. I mean, would you guys think that someone like a Paul Scholes would be as effective outside of the Premier League?
Yeah, I think so. I think Paul Scholes is
it's a very good example. But what I'm saying is, you get the point I'm trying to make. It's just like sometimes players don't. Sometimes leagues can define players over profiles of players themselves.
Well, this is why I talk about what is an Arteta player and how can we predict success. I think it's very important when we look at our transfer targets about what is going to be suited for the Premier League. And I think it's high time that we as fans have a discussion about what makes the Premier League different, because it's not just pace and power, right? In the Bundesliga, there is lots of running. Gunnar Express, I know he watches it. He'll tell you there's a ton of running and consistent sprints in the Bundesliga. But what I would argue is that, while there is a counter press, there isn't the organization to the degree that the Premier League shows. The Premier League is very famous in my mind that every single team has a very organized counter press that doesn't give you the same spaces. And so when you look at players, half-turn ability and elite 5-yard bursts are the absolute critical ingredients to determine if somebody's going to be good or not. I famously told everybody that I thought Havertz would struggle translating his play in the Premier League, and that's because I didn't think he had the 5-yard burst initially, but he also struggled with contact behind. If you ever look at some of these players, how do they deal with the pressure behind? Because this is what the Premier League does with their center backs, with their midfielders all the time. Is that target able to roll contact and burst? Those are the key ingredients, for me at least, in any player succeeding. So when we look at that, I think that has to be a discussion for us when we look at targets and translating it into the Premier League.
The other thing I want to add on to that is, in terms of Bundesliga specifically, if you look at how the Bundesliga operates, it's like me and George, me and you have this conversation about how Eddie Nketiah would thrive in the Bundesliga because of the short of how the Bundesliga compresses the game. It would allow him to play off the last man. I mean, the Bundesliga has a different set of skills that you need, and players like Granit Xhaka or someone, even if you look, for example, Emil. If you look at Emil, for example, he was good in the Bundesliga, but if you look at how he's playing, he's currently playing at the level he's playing at. It's allowed him to go up a level because his game is perfectly suited to the Premier League, in my opinion. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens with the XHAKA fee. But I think if we can get 20 mil for him, I'll take it. We move and find. We need to get some players out the door. We need to get some players in the door. So let's see what happens.
There was another game today with Spain and Croatia. That was almost a record breaker for the most goals in a Euros game. It was 8 goals in the game. Sorry, 5-3 to Spain. What did you guys make of the game, Brad? Willow, what did you guys make of the game?
I missed most of the game because I was out. It's my 21st birthday today, so I was out
Happy birthday,
Right,
man.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
Happy
pal.
birthday, man.
Happy birthday.
cheers, boys. So,
Yeah, you're gonna have to miss me out on this one as well, guys. I was off playing football, so I caught the tail end of it. I mean, I just couldn't believe that Spain were getting
Scored.
caught on sort of transitions, and there was. I mean, to be honest, today's been weird. You wouldn't have predicted these kind of score lines, and it's not like what I would expect of a classic sort of a Spanish or a French performance. You know, I think. But I mean, the Spanish team, I think, are even more under sort of development or redevelopment, as we say, than maybe in the French team. So I think that's why you're seeing these kind of games, because I think if you look closely, the Spanish team, a lot of the old guard have moved away, and there's only one or two remnants left of that old guard. And so these new players have to find their footing in tournament football, which is tough, to be honest.
am I the only one who finds it really weird with the Spanish team? Like, there's so many better players they could use, but the players they like today, like got Eric Garcia starting, like ahead of what's his name, the centre back for Villarreal,
Pau Torres.
Pau Torres.
yeah, Torres, and people, and Gerard Moreno not starting as well, and people like Morata starting. Am I the only one who finds it weird with the team selection?
I mean, Morata, to be fair to him, has, even though he's had one hell of a tournament in terms of some of the misses he's had, he produced a pretty decent finish today. The way he took that ball down and smashed it in the back of the net, fair play to him. He's someone that we mentioned in the predictions. I can't remember who it was. Someone said it was he's a confident striker. I think it was Z. It was Z, right?
Z or Wave.
It was. I think it was Z.
He's he is. No, I had said that, if he's in the tournament and he gets a run of goals, he could totally do that. But the thing with Morata is he's very similar to Granit Xhaka. You know what we've got today? A story of players that many have deemed not good enough, but on their day can perform. And there's a silver lining there in terms of, Morata's been really poor this tournament. Like, let's not take it away in terms of, Spain.
That follow-up miss was mental.
It's been horrendous. I called him and Moreno M&M because they're just diabolical, the pair of them, this tournament at least, and so far. But they had, previous storylines where Morata's had so many big moves. If you look at him as a career, it's been kind of amazing. He's got, his chance at some of the biggest clubs in the world.
Money laundering. Money laundering, that's what it is. It's money laundering.
There's a little bit of that, but look, I think when you look at Morata, I'll tell you right now, as a coach, you get excited because you've got a lot of fundamentals there that you can work on, but he has no killer instinct and he lacks efficiency in the final third. Now, if you can change those things, the other intangibles that he has gives you such a complete 9 profile. So I can see why he gets those moves, because there's a lot of coaches that must feel, oh, mate, if I can just fix you, that would be great.
Yeah, but that's been the holy grail, though, George. I mean, I think the only time where I thought he looked exceptional was when he was coming up in the under-21s and the youth level. But there, the game is different to when you come and become an adult and play in the full game. I think that's the problem.
We must also be now on well over 12 coaches that have failed at this. So,
that's what I mean.
I think there must be a lot of coaches doubting themselves now.
Well, Juventus keep on taking a punt on him, though. So I think this is weird, isn't it? I mean, they keep on taking a punt on him. So I mean, I think again, it goes back to that Italian league. Certain profiles do well in that league, and it's very rare to find those profiles there. So they have to get a Morata into the league. It's not like they have a natural striker. I think that's the problem as well. The Italians haven't produced.
It's time and space, isn't it?
Top class strikers.
Apparently, Saka's starting tomorrow against Germany.
He
Is
should.
that definitely?
That's what happens when you listen to Bogdan. God's sake. We don't know what's actually going to happen. Don't listen to Bogdan.
Listen, man, this is going to be like throwing all the way up till kickoff. You know that. So all the way up to kickoff, people will be leaking like, yeah, someone's in, someone's out. Do you know what I mean? And this is part and parcel of the build-up.
Saka should
So with
start.
it being announced now, with it being pretty much confirmed, it'll be a 3-4-3. There's now a good 4 or 5 positions on that pitch where he's going to be competing. So,
What is it confirmed? It's a free, is it?
Yeah.
Well, they've been saying it since
half an
last
hour,
week.
It's kind of been. I think it was always going to happen. I think that it's pretty well known that coaches think the best way to defeat a 3 at the back is to match them, and it's not like we're not well trained in it. I think that we've used it a fair few times, and we certainly have the personnel to do it. It's not like we are chucking in a kind of a mismatch 11 to try and match them. I think we have the personnel, and we clearly took the personnel to play a back three if we needed to. And I feel like they believe it's the best way to nullify the threat, which is Gosens and Kimmich, which is their main attacking threat.
Brad, do you think he's going to start off with that sort of keep the game tight, maybe change up the subs kind of attitude?
I think that it's kind of the basis of Southgate's just style. I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe have a gung-ho 10 minutes, which seems to be quite signature of England in this tournament. But again, it still wouldn't be the same as what we've seen against the Czechs or the Croatians, because we are going to have that little bit more of a nervous edge. But yeah, I certainly wouldn't expect us to go full guns blazing for 45 minutes against the Germans. I just don't think he has the kind of, I wouldn't say it's the belief, but he just errs on that side of caution, especially.
Yeah, he's a cautious personality, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's
I
never been one.
I don't think you can go full
No,
force with Germans.
yeah.
I mean, look, yes, I'm British, but I'd more say that I prefer Germany in terms of watching them. And when I watch Germany and how they've played this tournament, yes, they've looked shaky when you look at the results, and maybe when you've watched the Hungary game, they don't look great, but defensively they have been quite good. Hummels has been better than people say he has. Matty Ginter from Gladbach has been, for me, one of the most underrated players this tournament. He hasn't put a single foot wrong, and he's catching up to the likes of Mbappe, and he's just keeping that pace, which is where I think a Sterling would struggle. A lot of people say, you put a Sterling in that team, he'll make those runs and get past. I don't think he will, because Ginter will chase him down, and Ginter has the pace in those short bursts to catch up, and he's very good at positioning himself. So for me, it's difficult. I think whichever team decides to not go for a three at the back will win, but I don't see either doing that. I think if Germany had Klosterman fully fit, they would go to a four at the back. They'd put Kimmich in the midfield, drop probably Kroos. I'd say Goretzka and Kimmich is a better midfield right now. And they play that four at the back, but I think Rudiger is the centre back to get at. Southgate needs to attack Rudiger because he just looks so frail certain times.
And he plays on the left-hand side of the three, which is why I'm very concerned about us playing Foden and Trippier as a right-hand side, which is very slow for a right-hand side in a 3-4-3. I think that if we have to expose Rudiger, which we know he's exposable, then playing Foden and Trippier as your right-hand side just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's very technical right-hand side, and it feels like a right-hand side that's there because of set pieces, to be honest.
Well, you need a runner, don't you, Brad?
Yeah. Precisely.
When you've got something like that, look, when you look at the matchups, right? So Germany's going to want to control possession, and I think that will play into England's hands. Because right now, the one thing I will say is that while we've set up cautiously, I don't think us having possession right now with our setup is, the way forward. I think you let Germany have possession and you work on the counter, because England have the outlets to make them pay. Now, if you look at that right-hand side, like you said, Rudiger is going to be playing, there, and he is the target, right? And I think Mikel gave everybody the game plan on how to target that. That's what we did. So we've got to focus on him. And I think in order to do that, you have to stick somebody that has to run beyond. And that's Bukayo for me. I just hope, I have this funny feeling he'll stick him at left wing back, unfortunately, but he should start over Phil on that right-hand side and just tell him to go at him constantly. But
what I want to ask is, if we are doing three at the back, who's everyone's pivots? Who's the two they put in the pivots?
Rice and Hendo.
Bellingham, Rice.
Bellingham, Rice. Yeah, I want to go Bellingham.
I get Bellingham, but it's in such a big game. I want Henderson.
I go
Curran. I
think he goes to experience.
Will go for. I don't think there's a chance in hell we go to Bellingham in the round of 16
He
against
won't
the
start
Germans.
Bellingham.
But I'd bloody love to see it.
Yeah. That's what I think. I think he won't be that adventurous in that sort of situation.
I don't know if Rice is particularly a great option. I know Rice is probably the best overall DM we have. Maybe you can count Henderson, but I just when you look at that Germany team and the way they play, they have Kimmich who runs in the center and he'll pick up the ball and play it back to Kroos. And Goretzka for me will start. He's been injured throughout the tournament and he was set to start anyway. So Goretzka will probably start in that midfield.
Ahead of who? Will it be ahead of Gundogan or Kroos?
Gundogan probably, because Gundogan's been the one that's coming off the pitch for Goretzka, and in the last game against Hungary, I think it was only like 50 minutes or something when he was brought off, which says to me that Joachim Low will go for physicality. He's gonna want Goretzka just to, because look, Goretzka is a tank. He's just massive. He's just so physical. He will just bully a Rice for me. I think Rice is just bullyable. He's not particularly good in the air. He's not particularly physical. So if Goretzka can get into him, he could struggle, which is why I'd probably go for Phillips and Henderson and maybe bring Rice on later. Phillips hasn't been great either, but Phillips just seems a bit more physical and like he can hold up against a guy like Goretzka, whereas Rice for me just looks really fragile and it looks like he can just get bullied, and that's what Goretzka's going to do. He's just going to be a bully.
Do you expect Germany to be pressing us, guys? Do you expect Germany to go full pressed?
I don't know. I don't know if I do, because I'll tell you one thing with Germany and how we've just talked about how we press Rice. What we need to do, I start Henderson, because we need to press Kroos. I think Kroos has been awful this tournament. When I've watched Kroos play, he's just looked sloppy. He just doesn't look. I don't know if he's 100% fit. I don't know about. Even his set pieces have been awful, and he's normally great at least that. I think we need a Henderson to at least be on his back all day, so he's not dictating the tempo of the play.
It's a tough one. Like, is Hendo even fit?
Phillips. I think Phillips will be the man that Southgate gets to do that. I think, to be honest, I think he's the go-to runner for Southgate.
Well, Calvin Phillips has played better than Rice for me, for sure. Yeah. So if you're whoever you want sitting there paired, look, I would go Bellingham. I think we need that running power in there in the midfield. I haven't seen somebody provide that. So in terms of your DM, I think it's like horses for courses where they're all of a similar level. I think Hendo's not fit, so it'd be a risk to put him in. I don't know if I would. If it's between him and Rice, I think Phillips has had the better tournament. So I would probably put Phillips just on form. I always say in knockout competitions, you have to go on form. And this will never happen, but I don't want Kane playing. I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin should be playing. Kane's been very poor this whole tournament. He doesn't look fit himself.
George, there's no chance that he plays anyone but Kane.
No, I know. I'm not going feasibility.
I don't think the game should go to pens if England play their best team.
And you know what? I agree with you with the Calvin Phillips, because I think if you look at his phase one, how he helps the build-up phase,
he does it for lead.
If Germany go and press, I think he's more of an asset in terms of building out from the back. Or else I think we're going to be in trouble if you find there's periods of times when Germany do go for it, because I think between us and Germany, the Germans are a little bit more what I call bullish in terms of how they will approach the game.
Also, one name that we haven't mentioned, which I wouldn't be surprised if he starts in that kind of position because of the murmur on Sky Sports today, is Mason Mount. I think if we play a 3-4-3, I would certainly not be shocked if we see a Mount-Rice pivot. He does, much like the World Cup, where we kind of had the back three, one man sitting in front, and then kind of two slightly more attacking midfielders. I wouldn't be shocked if we do play the 3-4-3 that Mount is one of the central midfielders in that next.
Isn't Mount been out with? Isn't he not been training with the team until yesterday?
No, I know, and that's exactly why I wouldn't play him. But the whole thing on Sky Sports and The Athletic all week has been that he's a serious contender to play, and he will play a part in tomorrow's game.
If he's fit, he'll play. He's one of Southgate's favorite players, right?
Yes.
Like, if he's fit, he will play for sure. Like, forgetting feasibility, but also, to be fair, like, if you're looking at a Bellingham in profile to try to emulate that play, Mount will do the running both ways, right? He'll definitely take the ball, he'll take initiative. I think Jude is a much more complete player overall, but Mount is much more devastating in attack. So if you can support him and let him do his work, Mount will definitely cause damage, and I don't think that we really need to worry about him, maybe not training with the team. He's been a mainstay of the team and he knows the tactics. So I think Mount would be fine if you put him in. I think what it comes down to, guys, if I look at the game overall, is who's going to take their chances. I think this is the worst matchup for England to date. And if they get past Germany, it's a clear route to the final. But fundamentally, I think England have to make it a statement win, don't they? Like, they have to go out there and not let Germany dictate play and let Gosens run. I think that's going to be the play, because I don't think Germany will press particularly. But if you let Gosens have a couple play down the wings and he roasts you, we're going to be in trouble. And that's why I would almost want a Reece James, somebody physical enough to
I'm
keep
afraid
up
that
with
Trippier
him.
and Foden might allow that to happen.
Yeah.
But
I'm
even
afraid of
James
Gosens, really. I think he's
even-
their one threat.
Yeah, but even Reece James though, the one game he played, I don't know if it's just me, but he looks like he's put on the pounds a bit. If I'm being correct, like the
He
guy
does.
he was a bit chubby. He was a bit
It's
chubby.
the same thing that happened with Shaw. I think it's just
And
their body
The
type.
haircut.
Yeah.
I think.
and it was like, as well as he didn't play well either in the game he played. He was sloppy. He was pinging balls into the centre, and it was going straight to the Scottish players. Reece James was not very good. Out of the three of Reece James, Kyle Walker, and Trippier, it's a controversial opinion, but I think the best out of the three I've seen so far is Trippier. And
Yeah.
I hate Trippier.
Didn't he play left back?
Guys, you know what? We need to make Willow
Yeah.
the nutritionist for the England captain because obviously Reece James has been in the buffet
Yeah.
breakfast too
So what we
too
could
long.
see is, so we're assuming that Kyle Walker will be the right centre back and we'll have a right wing back, but it could be Walker at the right wing back, a back three of Stones,
And Ben
Maguire,
White.
Shaw, and Saka at the left wing back. That is an option that was experimented with. It was rumoured before the tournament that Shaw had been training in that left centre back position, so that could be an option. If,
Shaw is better.
he has a
Let's
good
be real though. If we're talking about pure right wingers in that squad, Bukayo Saka is in terms of like in a natural right winger position. It's Bukayo Saka. Bukayo Saka
to
is
challenge
the natural
Rudiger
winger.
as well. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at how Saka played in that game, it wasn't just like people say, "Oh, he had his top off for no reason." Like, why was he getting so gassed? Like he was clearly the man of the match. He had a great performance. He was running at players. He was trying to create space. He was very good with the ball on his feet, on and off the ball. Very good movement. And you have to give the man his props and to try and if Southgate tries to put someone else, if he tries to use Foden in that position, I don't get it. I just don't understand.
Well,
I don't
the key
understand
thing with that one, Curran, is like if you look at the gaps in that system. So if it's clear that we're going 3-4-3, right, and we can all assume that we're going to have a DM right in that pivot or that traditional pivot. It's not really a pivot, but you're going to have maybe an attacking player, Mount or somebody, plus a Calvin Phillips, right? You're going to need a Bukayo Saka to help progress down that side, especially if you're having wing backs bomb on forward. So I love what Ben White in that position at right center back that would be absolutely immense. And if you did have, I think, a Kyle Walker to tell him just bomb on, mate, like do your original Spurs job and have him bomb down the wing, I think that would be an immense help in terms of progressing play. It's about making sure that left wing back role though is Shaw. I think if you're gonna play that way, I just hope that we don't see Bukayo Saka there because he'll do great because he's a great player. But I really think the play is having him at right wing. Maybe you get Shaw, at left wing back, and you have maybe Maguire, Stones, and White kind of in the back, and then if you have like a Luke Shaw, maybe he won't do Bellingham, but I wish maybe you put Mount, Calvin Phillips, Kyle Walker on the right. I would do Bukayo Saka. I hope he goes Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but he won't. So we'll see Kane, and then maybe on the left there, I think you got to put a Grealish. To be honest with you, that's at least what I would do.
He'll put Sterling though. He'll play Sterling.
I also think that we should play Sterling. I think that going into the round 16 and only one of the players in the entire squad put the ball in the back of the net, that person should play. Like, okay, he might not be in the best 11, but I think that when you're going into the round 16 and only one person scored, I feel like dropping him would, especially if we went and lost and didn't score, the go-to for everyone would be, well, you drop the only guy that's put the ball in the back of the net. And
I think he offers a thing on the side of the bench, right? Like that's what it is for me. And if you play Bukayo Saka in the front line, right, he's going to play that Sterling role of playing in behind. So that's the problem. Like I want a little bit more attack in terms of it because I think that Kane's going to be deep. He's not going to be in the box, and he will play. So you just have to almost admit that we're not going to have a presence in the box. You'll have Bukayo that will stretch the pitch, but I don't know. I think on the left we need somebody with a little bit more on the ball because Shaw, I don't really trust him in terms of build up in the middle third. So I would rather let Mount kind of attack more centrally, and so we just need somebody to help progress play in my mind there. So I would prefer we have that, but it's all kind of void because I don't think many of our 11s will see with Gareth Southgate. Right. I think the only thing that we can all agree on is We're going to go man for man, 3 for 3. And it's going to be a matter of people taking their chances, right? I think England should play on the counter. I don't know about you guys, but I wouldn't want us getting dominating possession against Germany. I think you let them have the ball, and we hit them with outlets, personally.
I don't think we're capable of dominating the possession with Germany. That's the problem, though, you see, George. I think we don't have enough technical players in that double pivot to be able to dominate and pass the ball around and against the German team. I think the German team are better retaining the ball, but I think you're right. I think they're weak on transition, so that's where I see the weakness as well myself. It's about how we allow them to approach up our pitch, and when we press them actually, and then try to win the possession back, I think is critical. So I think the personnel selection is going to be really, really important in that game if that is going to be the plan.
I think if we do sit and counter, I think Phillips should be the DM because he's more vertical than Rice, and when you've seen Rice in the build-up more recently, we've taken a lot longer to move from A to B or from defense to attack with just Rice building up. So I think Phillips and Rice, if they both do play, I think they should at least switch roles.
For sure. And I think also the one thing with Phillips is he does this for Bielsa, right, guys? Like he drops deep to help the build up, and he gives those kind of security, really, the bomb on. And if you're looking at people to replicate that role, Ben White, again, at right center back has to be the play. You know, when he played back for Leeds, he let Luke Ayling kind of go on the wing. And if our plan is to kind of facilitate that right wing back to go, right, I really think that you need to draw up on that partnership. I think that's an underrated aspect of international play, because I think the one thing that maybe we've seen is there's been a lot of players that maybe had poor tournaments, but they're asked to do roles that they don't do for their club team. And for me, you can't be experimenting like that. So if you're going to have a Rice, let's say, drop into helping the build up, you know, facilitate him with a Ben White, who he has a partnership with at right center back, right? You know, have Kyle Walker bomb on, because, you know, that's something that, you know, even for Brighton, when Tariq Lamptey wasn't injured, that partnership was immense, right? When you looked at those switches of play. So look, if you do want to facilitate a Sterling, maybe that makes even more sense if Ben White plays, right? Because those cross balls that he's able to hit are accurate, and that could be deadly with a runner on the left wing running in behind. So that's another dynamic too, you know, kind of thinking about it. Maybe Sterling does play, right, instead of Grealish, and you look for that dynamic. But I just think that we need to focus on getting past the transitions, because that's going to be the name of the game, really, for this one.
I think the France game tonight would have confirmed this 3-4-3 as well. We've just seen like kind of a much weakened side beat this France team. Although they lined up in a 3, I don't think it was really much of a 3. It was really unorganised, unstructured, and I think that they'll be taking a lot from this France game tonight. And actually, he's seen that as we don't want to do this. And I think you can learn a lot from the way France have failed in their setup, and I think it could be a massive boost towards England tomorrow.
Yeah. So we talked internationals. Before
we move on from our internationals, I have to say this because we haven't talked about it yet. The Czechs. The Czechs.
What about them?
What about the Czechs?
Yeah,
Come at me.
What about them? When they
No.
You just say come at me.
Now come at me, bro. Semi-finals or bust. I'm telling you. They go into the semis. I'm telling you right now. I don't see them losing against Denmark. I see them going to England or Germany and then losing.
Romano just confirmed Lukonga bid. Just thought I'd chuck that in there quickly. Sorry.
Well, brilliant. We'll get into it in a second, but I'm going to talk my talk right now, because if we're going to move on for internationals, I haven't said a word on the YouTube since.
But you gotta look at that game state though. No, like, look, Czech are a good team, and I've never really argued on that. But fundamentally, that red card changed the game too. You know, I think when they face the Denmark team, look, I hope they're going to have some trouble. That pressing structure from Denmark is absolutely elite.
The best in the tournament.
And I think they have been, along with Italy and Hungary, my best coached teams in the tournament. You know, Hungary are unlucky, but
I get your points. But if you look at, I'm going to pull this up right now. I'm going to pull it.
Aaron's loving being right, isn't he? He's loving it.
I'm going to pull this up right now. I'm gonna pull this up because it's 100% correct. Look, I agree with the Danish pressing structure. They're a very good team, And even though I did call Wales to win, I do think the Dutch definitely 100% prove me wrong. They have a higher floor in their team, and they do have a remarkable sense of togetherness after what happened.
Because it was set pieces again, right, mate? And
set pieces again,
Denmark are great
agree.
against that. That's the trouble.
Who's
Unlike
Yo-Yo?
Ireland.
Is Yo-Yo your current burner account?
It's not my burner account. No, it's not my burner account.
He's
No,
right.
but
though.
the thing is with this Czech team is, and why I have picked them, and why they were my dark horses. I didn't have the Turkey lot like a lot of people did. I had the Czechs because I saw a certain
no, it's because
profile
of
of
your
player.
affinity to Czech Republic.
No, but let me finish. I said I had an affinity to a specific type of profile of player. They have very large, strong players like Kalash, players like Schick, Souček, Koufal with his excellent delivery. Vatslik has been excellent. That save against Milan changed that game. The one where Milan was one-on-one.
Marlon, oh my
Yeah.
God.
I call him Milan. Marlon. Call him Marlon.
He was moving like Ronaldo phenomenon.
Yeah, he was through. He was through it, and Vaslik actually he took his time, and he actually he got the ball from him at the exact right time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's poor from Marlon for me.
It's poor for Marlon, but if you look,
That's
it's
really
good goalkeeping. At the end of the day, it's good goalkeeping as well. It's not just poor for Marlon. He didn't lose control of it. He went down at the right time and got to snatch the ball from him, and from that same play, they countered and De Ligt made the mistake. So. It was a game where obviously the red card had a massive effect, but it's not like the Czechs were out of it by any means. It was 0-0 deservedly at half time. It wasn't like it was the case that the Netherlands were 100% clear. They should have been 4-0 up at half time. No, the Czechs were in it, and they have a clear style of play. They play very physical. They're very dominant in terms of on the ball. They like their set pieces, and they like getting crosses into the middle. And they have a striker in Patrick Schick, who is in incredible form. And you also have, I want to pull out Holej as well. Holej yesterday is the assist yesterday. A massive assist from him yesterday. So look, I will to respond to this. I actually have a Czech residency permit. So. Say that's what it will, but in terms of a dark horse, I love this Czech team. They do it for me. I do really like what they bring to the table. So that's all I've got to. Before we move on from internationals, I wanted to make sure I got that in there because it was.
You know what? I'm worried about you, Karen. I reckon you're trying to get sort of Czech citizenship or something. You know that? That's the only reason.
I do. I'm eligible for Czech citizenship actually, but I don't.
See, I knew it. Now he's just playing for the embassy to just give it to him without paying a fee or something.
I have a residency permit for the Czech Republic. I could if I wanted to, I could get a Czech passport, but I don't. I'm carrying my British passport. Don't worry. Especially in this tournament.
We saw some crazy games today and I predicted Seferovic to play a big part in Switzerland getting past, but forget the internationals. And you seen was it Sky Germany that kind of confirmed that Dortmund and Manchester United have agreed a deal.
Yeah, I saw that.
For Jadon Sancho.
It only took about 2 years, didn't it?
Yeah, for £85 million, I think it was.
I think it's euros.
What do you guys make of Sancho to United?
I think it's like a typical United signing. Big name. I think Sancho's a very good player, and I think he'll go there, and they'll probably ruin him. All you got to do, I think, is look at the international tournament and look at Paul Pogba. How good is Paul Pogba in a French team? He's brilliant. Scoring long shots. Every time he's on the ball, he's doing something magical, a through ball. When do you see this for United? You don't. And if you do, it's not nearly as often as you do in the French team. Man U ruin nearly every big name. Alexis Sanchez. All these players go to Man United and they just do not do well. And I feel like it could be the case again. They mismanage so many players.
I just hate that one of my favourite players is going to go to Manchester United and probably more than likely play out of his best position. Because I think like in the past 20 games at left wing, he has 24 goals and assists. And if you watch Sancho this season, the first half he was playing more so right wing, and he was very bad.
Yeah, he didn't have a goal for the first. I can't remember how long it was, but he didn't get off the mark for a little while. And as you said, his left wing is definitely Jadon Sancho's like best position, where you're going to get the numbers out of him and where he's going to be most effective. And they're going to be playing him on that right. And as well, you've got to look at. Sorry,
he's got a big problem. Marcus Rashford.
Yeah.
He's got another big problem. He's got Aaron Wan-Bissaka behind him trying to sort of do the overlap.
Yeah, and Oli's got a problem.
Even if they had like a proactive right back, I still think he's going to have problems on the right wing because he hasn't got that acceleration to make separation against the fullback. He needs to see the pitch in front of him. Because the thing is, on the left, he can have his peripheral vision. He can see what's going on in front of him, and he'll be able to like do his creativity and to cut inside and to be able to shoot or to get to like cross or make a reverse pass or something. But on the right, he doesn't have the acceleration to make the difference. So I'm a bit worried about him.
I like your latter part, mate. He definitely has the separation, like he has the skill to do it, but I agree he doesn't see the pitch on the right as well. And this is definitely why I talk about player instincts. I do it quite a bit because I really think it's important when you're trying to look at players coming in, right? And Sancho's a tough one. Everybody knows he would have been my dream player for that left wing in terms of what he could offer as a pseudo 10 and somebody dropping in. But in terms of Man United, I really think that this is going to be what I think a lot of the lads have already said, a wasteful signing, a signing that is no doubt a world-class player. Let's get that in. He's world-class. I just think that he is going to struggle for Man United because they're going to play him on the right wing. And when you combine that with an Aaron Wan-Bissaka and a Bruno in dynamic, because that's how they're probably going to play on that side, it's going to be very worrying. And I don't know if they're going to have the money to buy a DM that they desperately need. So I can see it being a very blockbuster move that doesn't end quite well. So, yeah.
George, I mean, the other joke is that the supposed DM or Pogba replacement, whatever, I don't know where it's Camavinga. I mean, how do you fit that guy in their team? I mean, is he a Fred replacement? What is he? What are they going for there?
Because even if they go 4-3-3, with Camavinga, like, they have, what's his name? Van de Beek on the bench, who is primarily a right-sided player, who they don't use.
I'd be worried, lads, if they got Camavinga, because you know what? That's a very good dynamic with Sancho on the right wing. If they were to get Camavinga, you've now got an overlapper that's going to supply that width, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka doesn't have to bomb on. So if they were to get Camavinga, it would mean that Pogba probably goes for me, and Bruno slots into that 10 that will drop into the left kind of half space. But they'll put Camavinga up top there, and they'll just need a sitter for me, which could be McTominay. I don't think he's the best, but they start to then have a balance.
I don't think he's got George. I don't think he's got that defensive instinct. I know he's played Scotland, but in a back three, which is a weird position for him.
He doesn't, but he's played it for United pretty decently. Like when him and Fred go, he's definitely the deeper of the two. So he could play there. I think the dynamics with Camavinga would actually suit Jadon a lot. I'd get worried because that's actually a decent partnership now that I start to see. And
do you think that's their plan, though? Do you think that's what they're doing, if that's the interest?
100% that would be the plan, because I think Pogba's going.
Yeah, okay.
Do you? Where's Pogba going, though?
PSG.
Do you think he's going PSG?
They do want him.
I saw a report the other day where they said, I think Mohamed Bouhapsi for RMC Sport, he said Camavinga wants to stay in France. That's what I saw yesterday. He wants to stay in France. He wants to go to PSG.
Well, there was an article today. I mean, I hate links. Everybody knows that. But there was the Rennes director did make some comments that, there was confirmed interest with United and PSG for Camavinga. So I think he's on the market, and that's the 28th, right, lads? I think this is his deadline about signing an extension, really. So I think for him to vocalize, which was from West France, like it's a good source, that they have received kind of proposals, I think that indicates for me that he's definitely on the market. And I hope that PSG go for him. I think United would be a great move for him, but it would worry me because I think that's actually a smart move by them. But PSG, I just worry because that's a rival. And so I don't know how those French markets are going to work. They may actually prefer to sell him abroad, right? So I hope he stays in France. I think it's best for his development, but I unfortunately see Pogba going and them getting Camavinga.
I don't know with this Man United team. It just shows that in world football right now, there's the one thing that world football is lacking right now is an abundance of sixes, an abundance of world class single pivot DMs, and it's a tough market to crack. I mean, I can see a couple of names, but they're not exactly elite in terms of. I mean, the players that are elite right now are settled at their clubs, like Fabinho, Casemiro, these type of players.
Samari is not settled.
Well, Samari apparently has been settled since May, so who knows what's going on with that? We don't know. He's been settled since like the May 20th. Who knows where he's at? So
I think Rodri is someone that a club could tap into. I think he was unhappy, wasn't he? It come out about a month ago.
Yeah,
he was on the list of players.
Rodri, yeah. I mean, Fernandinho should be there, but he's not the same.
Gone. He left Man City, so they need a Fernandinho replacement.
Yeah.
And they need a striker. So Man City look like they're going to spend 200 million on Kane and Grealish.
I've seen people on Twitter mention that. Let's go get Fernandinho. He'd be a great person to have in our midfield. No, we're not looking for.
Started yet, to be honest.
We're not looking. Look, guys. There's a clear profile of player.
How old is Fernandinho?
36. 36. So we're looking for a 23 and younger, 23, maybe 24 and younger. We're not looking for these old heads to come in. Willian is proof. We can't have no more Willian signings. No, thank you very much. So,
should we even do a roundup maybe of kind of the news that's been breaking, because I think it's been kind of crazy the last 5 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Congo just I'm gonna get the exact numbers, but that Fabrizio guy with a lot of followers.
I'm gonna chill for a bit. You guys, I want to hear from some different voices. So you guys,
that Fabrizio guy with a lot of followers said Arsenal's official bid Anderlecht is 17.5 million euros plus 4 million add-ons.
It's quite hefty.
And Anderlecht won a 15% sell-on fee.
Yeah. So I think that's the stumbling block so far. I think that probably would be accepted around about.
That doesn't make sense though.
We'll work that down to 5.
Why?
Shall I tell you why it doesn't make sense? They wanted 20 million euros, right? That was the asking price from everyone that said anything about anything. I think Fabrizio's got this wrong, because sometimes if a club's it starts off in negotiation saying that they want a sell-on fee, we might have paid slightly over in terms of the add-ons to try to remove that sell-on clause. And I think that's where they're getting that wrong, because I can't imagine we keep a sell-on clause, not with Tim Lewis overseeing the transfers.
They know he's going to run down his contract anyway.
No, so that's what I'm saying is that's probably why it's not got accepted, is because it's 17.5 million plus 4 million. That the sum's probably fine, but the 15% on Arsenal's end, we don't want to do that. So I don't know if we'll probably have to, as you said, pay a bit more to get rid of that sell-on clause.
I don't think we'll pay more, to be honest with you, lads. I think he'll push for the move at this point, and I think from a deals perspective, we're just going to make the add-ons more guaranteed, and so that 4 million will definitely happen and be given to Anderlecht at some point. And I don't think Arsenal ever have a precedent for allowing a sell-on clause for.
That's what I'm saying, George. I'm saying that's why it's over the 20 million quoted price. It's like 1 million euros over the quoted price, because I think those 4 million would have been. Some of that would have been hypothetical. So even the base fee would have been lower initially. So I think that's how. Because I think we did. It wasn't the same with Torreira, but we did some. We paid in installments, so we had to pay above the release clause for Torreira to be able to pay the
£6 million. I think a little bit more.
So I think there is precedent where we've done deals like that, where we want to remove something that's unfavourable for us, or to structure a deal in a certain way. So
it could be something as little as right now that 4 million add-ons comes if we get Champions League football, and they want it so that it's if he makes 20 appearances or something like that. Just something which means that they are.
That's what I think is going to be the negotiation
to get it. You know.
So if they do the Champions League football, they're definitely going to get it. because we're going
I
Champions
was,
League
I was
football.
going to
man.
ask a question, guys. I was going to express. What do you think of the couple of like players that we've been linked with so far? What's your opinions on those, mate?
Well, obviously Lakonga, I think is a player that we can use. I think I'm a person who would love to keep Guendouzi. I think there's a lot of talent in there, and I get that there's a lot of arguments between him and the manager. So I can accept him leaving. I'm not, going to favour a player over the club or anything. I think it's silly to let him go, but we'll obviously see in the future whether that turns out to be true or not. But Lakonga, I think, is a good replacement. I think he's a better box-to-box than what Guendouzi is, because he's obviously more of a box-to-box. I think he doesn't particularly add goals, but I think he would actually add quite a lot of assists. I think with the players that we have, if he started to break into the first team, the Martinellis, the Ballagans, because I think these are the kind of players that he'd be playing with. Some of those passes that he can pick out, they'd be brilliant for a Balogun especially. I think Balogun would love Lakonga behind him, because obviously Balogun does really well with Aziz, and I think Aziz is pretty similar-ish to Lakonga.
Very similar.
But yeah, I'll just quickly on that, I'd actually send Aziz on loan. If we're going to bring Lakonga in, I'd get him on loan as soon as possible. But in terms of the other players, I'm not the biggest fan of Ben White either. I think we can. It's not that I don't think he's particularly good. It's more the fact that I just think there's better out there for the same price. And I get that we need those homegrown talent, and that's the major reason for me why we've picked him over such a player like Tapsoba, because Tapsoba was a player that we were heavily linked to, and then it all went quiet. And I think that is down to the homegrown quota. I think when we were looking at who we're going to sell, who we're going to keep,
Didn't they ask for a
needed to
ridiculous release
recoup
clause
that.
though?
Wasn't Tapsoba like 70 million euros?
70 million euros or something.
That's the release clause, but Leverkusen were willing to negotiate, and I think he was willing to move on, because Leverkusen, I'll be honest, they're not as good as they used to be. And I mean, what I mean by that is they used to be a Champions League team 3 or 4 years ago. Now they're struggling to even make Europa. So I think he's trying to get out of there as soon as possible, because obviously he's got a very high potential. But yeah, Ben White, I can accept it again. It's a deal that I'm not happy about, but I can accept it in the sense that I do think it will still work out. But it's just one of those where I need to see it first. But yeah, Basuma is a player that I want. I wanted Samari. Samari is the main guy that I wanted in that midfield for obvious reasons. He's easily the best for his age in that position. He's brilliant. His stats prove it. His eye test proves it. He's just a brilliant player. And there's this constant thing saying that he's secured at Leicester, and Romano tweets it, and all these guys tweet it. But why has it not been made permanent? That says to me they're either waiting to announce this for a specific time, or it isn't done yet. And in that case, go and look. Arsenal need to look into this deal, because he would be perfect. He'd be better than Basuma. He's younger than Basuma. He's probably cheaper than Basuma as well. It just makes sense. It makes perfect sense to go and get.
Do you remember when
Bakary
Watford
Samari.
announced Papa Gay and it wasn't even complete yet? I mean, nothing's ever fully.
That's what I'm
fully
saying.
done.
So,
Brad,
I
it's
don't.
even
I just,
like it's
there
even
has
like
to
that
be
Gabriel
some sort of
McAllister deal last
availability.
year.
Exactly, and this is what I'm saying. Like,
Remember, Everton was supposedly gave him a medical, and he'd been shown around the ground and everything.
Yeah.
well, it's
And then
the
the
same thing.
pandemic
Do
hit.
you remember with
He was in
Spurs?
United.
Spurs and
William.
William.
Exactly.
Yeah.
William's a perfect example.
My favourite one's Obafemi. No, what was his name? The West Brom striker. Who
the
went
Wenger
to-
Oh, when he
Oh,
turned
the
up, he
wing.
turned
yeah,
up.
when he
Yeah,
turned up to the
Yeah,
stadium.
yeah,
that was brilliant.
yeah.
Oh, then Wingy.
That was
brilliant.
sad,
Yeah.
man.
That was brilliant. No, but yeah.
Until he's in the shirt, right, mate?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. On Samari,
George is
look,
definitely holding out on that hope. You know that. I know.
I've been saying that.
yeah,
Somali
but
George
sometimes,
hasn't been
yeah,
disappointed with that.
sometimes teams sign players and they wait to announce them for certain things. So maybe Leicester are saying, you know what, we'll hold out because maybe they know they're going to sell Ndidi, or they know they're going to sell Maddison or someone. So maybe they're waiting to get rid of that player first to then bring in Samari to kind of sweeten that deal to the fans. But
Do you think?
I don't see that. I do not see that. And all the reports say that he's been done since May and all this. So I don't see it being, oh, let's just wait. I see it not being completed to the extent that some of these journalists are saying. So again, what I want Arsenal to do is be proactive. Approach Little. Say, is he still available? If they say no, what's the harm in that? What's the harm of us just attempting to inquire? And maybe we have. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Maybe we've done that. I mean, I can't imagine with the way allegedly we've been going around sounding out players that
Yeah, exactly.
That wouldn't be the conversation that we've had before.
With Sumari,
this is my issue. Is I think we would have gone to inquire. I think that's how we are acting this summer. But the reason why I also don't think we would have is that Samari, I just don't see him being a player that they would look at. I think they're more looking at Basuma, and I get that Samari is better and fits the style more. But I just don't. I don't know why. I just feel like they wouldn't have inquired. They wouldn't have gone to make sure that he's still available and that. But
yeah, I think we would have gone in if we wanted him. I think we would have gone in. I think they want early because that's what annoys me is like Lokonga is the same price as what Leicester are paying for Samari. I'm like,
exactly.
We're paying for a bench player for someone that would start for us and be so effective.
Mm-hmm. And look, I mean, in terms of every other player linked, what other players linked that's even remotely, solidified right now? There's the Madison.
I think Nuno Tavares, mate.
Oh yeah, Tavares. I'll quickly speak on this geezer. I think we've all seen the videos, right? We've all seen the videos, right?
Yeah, I know. That was mayhem. I'm telling you, mayhem on that timeline.
Oh, Jesus
Christ!
I
like this guy.
No, I agree. I like his attitude, not the lip-sync of the dog. I don't like that attitude of him, but I like his...
Did you see Hamad's tweet? I think he tweeted something.
Yeah, I saw that.
That made me laugh so much, man. We've got to give him a shout.
I want to quickly speak on this Tavares because I feel like this needs to really be said. What I dislike about football fans in general, it's not something that's personal to anyone or anything like that. But a lot of times that players are judged for off the field antics when they're not looked at on the field or the field stuff. If you look at, we were talking earlier about Granit Xhaka. The stuff that it was said to his wife, the stuff that was said about his daughter, it's just not on. And there's a reason why he's so like. I don't know if you guys saw, there was a guy after one of the games recently, and he was taking a picture with him outside the stadium, and he was in his car, and he was like looking like this, and he was sort of like who are you? He looked so uncomfortable with it. It was, and if we continue to treat players like they're just like as long as I'm right, then who cares about the player? Who cares about the club? I want my opinion, and that opinion is right no matter what happens. Then players are not going to want to come here. Players already don't want to come here because they see how our fan base acts, and it's not just our fan base; it's other fan bases as well. But our fan bases, I find it so incredibly toxic and incredibly sort of anti-football. Just let's get my narrative out. Let's do this. I want to get those retweets. I want to get those likes. As long as people like what I'm saying, then screw everything else. So,
that is true, Karen. But the thing is, though, like some of the biggest clubs in the world, like Barcelona, Real Madrid, their fans 100%. Are so bad, and people still want to go to them. And as much as I agree with you, the Xhaka statements and all that is absolutely disgusting. It is disgusting. But the thing is, it's horrible, but it's the way it is. And I need a player that is able to take that. Even though how disgusting it is, I don't know if that's, have someone control your social media account as, Ozil did. He didn't control his own social media account, someone else did. But I just don't want players having to look at Twitter and being like, I'm not going to come to a club because of their fans on Twitter.
Look. I agree. I hear what you're saying, but you have to realize that if we're willing to accept this, then there are going to be world-class players that are not going to want to come here. It's that simple.
With the Xhaka thing, I think today was like a weird day for him because if you see at the end, he came and started shushing to the camera, and he does that a lot. I think he plays with this chip on his shoulder because of the Arsenal fans, and I think the Arsenal fans have consistently changed their opinion on him. Regularly over the season. Even today, there's people who have been like, oh my gosh, this Xhaka guy is amazing. He's worth 60 million. And then yesterday, if you ask them about Xhaka, they'll probably say, this Xhaka guy is rubbish, 15 million's enough. So, with
the other thing I want to ask is, do we think Arteta has mismanaged Xhaka?
No.
The complete opposite.
Best under Arteta.
Literally, this has been his best. This has been his best. This has been the best. Granit Xhaka Arteta has got the best out of Granit Xhaka. He's made him I think, when he was in hard times at Arsenal, he put his arm around him and told him to stay at the club. I think we've seen Granit Xhaka on his best form at Arsenal under Arteta. And today, like for instance, I'm not a big Granit Xhaka fan. I hope he's sold, not just for. I just don't think he's the right fit for Arsenal. But I was cheering him on today, and I hope every other Arsenal fan was.
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I think everything kind of on XHAKA, to be honest, has kind of already been said in terms of his overall career evaluation. The only thing I wanted to touch on Tavares is because I've seen a lot of differing opinion on it, so I just wanted to maybe give my 2 cents. Now, the one thing is, I haven't seen full 90 minutes, so again, these are just very basic clips, but I don't think anybody has, to be honest with you. But when you kind of look at him, he lacks the first 5-yard explosive pace. So immediately it's going to limit his ability to ever be an elite fullback for me. He has that Aaron Wan-Bissaka running style where he takes a while to get going. So in the first 5 yards, he's quite slow. But if you see him over 15 yards, he's actually quite fast. He's got good stamina. You can kind of tell he goes up and down the wing based on his metrics. And he's got an immense final ball. But defensively, he definitely lacks in isolation. But I think he shifts quite well with his hips. He's got really great agility. So I'm very hopeful that this is a coachable thing in terms of defending his space and isolation. I don't think he's proven it to date, to be honest with you. And if you look at what Benfica fans, they say similar. But I don't see it as much as an issue per se. Kolasinac, who I've gotten kind of retorted on Clinic, or on Twitter rather, about, because he's got an immense final ball and he shifts well, whereas Kolasinac had neither of those things. So for me, this deal for maybe less than £10 million or around that metric, I think what's key is that he's got excellent final ball and crossing ability, where in role, our left back is very similar to a left wing. And so I doubt that he's going to be in a position really where he's going to be isolated as much. And I think he can be coached to do better in that position. Ultimately, he's not my pick. I really wanted Thierry Small. I think he's younger, homegrown, cheaper, and more complete as a footballer. But in terms of an overall left-back deal, I'm actually kind of meh on it. I really don't mind it. It seems to fit a profile. I don't think that he'll be as deficient as a Kolasinac. And, he does have something to prove. He's 21. He's had some up and down moments with Benfica, but he was touted as an excellent prospect. So for me, we're recruiting hungry players. The one thing that I'm seeing, though, if you compare Lukunga, Ben White, and Nuno Tavares, what are all those three have in common? They were all gaps of our past season in terms of where our season fell. A backup left back, enough quality in the back line for a right center back, and then finally, with Lukunga having a Partey replacement. So what we're very clearly doing, which I've said previously, is that our first moves in the market from a strategy perspective are plugging the holes from last season. And once we confirm sales, I think we're going to see the major signings come in terms of that real first partner for Thomas Partey, maybe that, attacking mid that we all really want. But those three are our biggest squad depth holes that, we need to seal up, because they're going to allow us to kind of play the way that we want to play. So I think Nuno Tavares is probably a 7 out of 10 for me.
George,
but
just going on about that, you just saying that we're plugging holes in our squad. I know a lot of fans were saying, listen, where are all these big signings? Because they don't see any of these three players as big signings. And I was trying to explain to people that if you guys have been following the transfer market for a long time, it wouldn't make sense for us to go and buy our marquee players when we probably will have to put a much higher outlay if we didn't get any of these squad players. Because if you go and buy your marquee player, let's say, for example, we take last year as an example, buy Thomas Partey and you don't have enough cash in the kitty because you've had to pay money up front, you're not going to be able to get these other squad players, and we'll end up going back to square one again, where we don't have all the squad holes sort of plugged in. So I can understand the strategy that we're following. We're trying to sort of plug the holes first and then see what the money outlay is before we go in and sort of negotiate some of the alleged bigger transfers that we've been linked with.
I think they're rate limiting step mates. I don't necessarily think it's monetary per se, but it's more of a squad management issue. So those are three holes now that we needed as of last season in the playing squad, and they don't have competition. Whereas I would argue something like, a deep lying playmaker, like, a Partey partner, we still have XHAKA on the books. I know he's not out. So I really feel as though our mentality this window is 1 out, 1 in kind of deal. And these three deals are the cheapest rate limiting step, right, towards those bigger deals. And so Ben White is actually a big deal, you know, and I think I just think people should look at that Ben White deal with a little bit more versatility. I had a big thread on my feelings on Ben White, so I don't think I'll go too much in detail, but I think he solves a lot of the versatility problems that we're going to have, and he gives us tons of options for how we want to play, whether that's right back, whether that's right center back. And I don't think that we're going to see those right back links until we get a few out the door. So once Hector and maybe Ainsley Maitland-Niles, you know, both of those either confirmed or their futures out, you won't see links to that position.
Yeah.
And I think that's because Ben White covers a role there, and he's better than Chambers in my mind. And so if you're looking for that role, he can easily fill that role also while being at right center back, right? I don't think I think the one maybe issue I will say is I think fans view the 50 million pounds that he has to play, and also that he's a priority signing. For me, I don't think that your first outlay necessarily is your priority per se. I think that, you know, the order of your transfers really doesn't matter personally.
Depends
And
on availability.
yeah, exactly. I think it's really availability for me and the ease of deal, right? So Tavares, it seems like it's a quick deal, right? It's been a quick turnaround, so we're going to secure it quickly. But again, I think that Ben White deal gives us a lot of versatility in terms of how we can orient our back line, right? You know, he's played so many different positions, and I really would encourage people to look at the visual by John Ollington. And if you look at that, how he's played for Brighton is far more on the wing this season than he did for Leeds. That was much more right center back. So he really drifted into that Chambers role exactly. So I know people don't want to hear it, but in terms of him being at right back, it's a huge possibility, especially how we play our right back, right? You know, Callum Chambers is much more of an inverted option that overlaps on the outside. And, you know, Ben White's done that quite a bit this season for Brighton. So I would have a look at that. And I just feel that our big marquee signings are going to happen later on once we get those confirmed out. So XHAKA going out means that we can go for our Basuma or that type, right?
Yeah, we
And
seem to be
then-
running on a policy where we're not signing a replacement until one goes. So, for example, like David Luiz left, Ben White came in. Like we won't
Exactly.
be looking at these positions until they go. No one's gone until they're gone, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's just to minimize the risk of bloating the squad again or
Deals falling
causing
through
problem
and then
because
ended up with people sitting on the reserves on 200k a week. You don't want that.
yeah, because say we try to talk to a right back now, and we go, oh, we want to sign you. This is how often he goes, well, I'm not going to come here to compete with four guys.
Yeah.
So you can't even. It's very hard to negotiate when you have people on the book, and even if you do get him in, you're then going to have 5 right backs, which is just.
I also think Tavares has an ability to play at this right back from what I've seen today. He seems to really enjoy playing on the right-hand side of the defence and coming into the midfield. And I know it's much easier to do this in the league in a weaker league. You can kind of express yourself a little bit more. But he does seem to be incredibly dangerous coming off the right-hand side and cutting in, which is unusual for a left back, obviously, that you'd be used to playing on the left and overlapping on the left. But I feel like he's extremely good on both feet. His final delivery is elite from deep and from the byline, which is important. He's not a one-dimensional crosser. He can certainly do both. And also, yeah, I do think he has the ability to cover at right back and really enjoys coming into the midfield and looking for runners in behind as well. So I think
Brad, he started off as a midfield player, so I think that's what's happened. He's
Would
moved
make
back.
sense.
Yeah, so he's a lot more technically comfortable than I think people give him credit for.
I like him.
The other thing I was going to say, I read a tweet today, and I can't remember who to give credit to now, but it was in the morning, and someone was saying about our goalkeeping situation. You know, someone was just posted, I think Azim posted a comment here on, they're saying, you know, if the Onana deal's gone quiet, and are we going to sign Ramsdale? I think our fans.
I just want to quickly say something. Yeah. I really want to quickly say something. I have just seen on Twitter a space called Granit Xhaka for the Ballon d'Or from Arsenal.
If he wins it, wait. If he wins the Euros,
you got to give it to Arsenal fans with humour, man. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but these were the same.
If he wins the
man.
Euros, it's going to be worse. Don't even pay attention to it now. We just won the round of 16s, and people are saying
my dream scenario, right,
Curran,
is
going back
no,
to
let me finish. My dream scenario is a Czech-Swiss final,
Yeah.
right?
He's just putting a track record. You know
Swiss
that.
final
Yeah,
for the sheer banter of it.
CK, he wants this clipped so he can play this back over and over again.
seriously. AFC James.
Look, going back to this goalkeeping situation, you know, with Onana and what's happening with Leno and stuff. I honestly think the fact that those links came out and we seriously considered Onana, and I think we still are considering Onana. I don't know what the situation is. The fact that the story's gone quiet doesn't mean
situation.
Well, there's a story literally just come out, I think, about 20 minutes ago with that Di Marzano or whatever his name is, the Italian journalist.
Di Marzio, yeah.
Yeah, Di Marzio, and he's just said that Inter Milan are in talks with Onana.
No, I think lads,
no, they've been quiet.
It's very much a Kieran Tierney situation for me, where we
Yeah,
know
yes.
we know
I
the
agree with
fee,
George
and
there.
it's going to happen later in the window, and there's no reason to pay now because lads, he can't train, so it's going to be a case of where we know the price, and we actually know that we are his preference, and so we have all the leverage. That link from DiMarzio is definitely his agent doing his best to say, "Hey, hurry up! I want you to bid." But we're just not going to complete it because we know it.
From another point of view, be Handanovic's number 2 or be Arsenal's number 1. It just wouldn't make any sense.
Brad. I agree with what George is saying. I do think Onana will come in, but in regards to that, Handanovic is incredibly old. Onana knows that even this season he's probably going to he'd be better than Handanovic. Handanovic, yes, I know he just won a league, but that wasn't for me down to his particular goalkeeping ability more than it was the defensive midfield that he had in front of him. So, look, there was another report saying that he's going to hold out until his contract ends next season and leave on a free. He wants a team with Europe. What that suggests to me is he wants to join Arsenal still. Exactly. He wants to see if Arsenal can get Europe, which I do think will get Europe, whether it's Europa or Champions League. And then from that point, he'll come to Arsenal. So I still think it will be done this season, but I see him as an Arsenal player within the next year. If not this season, we'll keep Leno for one more year, go and get Darlow or Johnston or someone as a backup, bring in Onana next season, sell Leno and keep whichever homegrown keeper we brought in. Personally, just on that, I'd like Woodman. I
agree with you, Dino Express. I like Woodman as well.
His dad obviously worked at the club and he's a good keeper. He was great for Swansea. Helped him try to push for playoffs. I think I wasn't
overly impressed in the final because I was looking out for him in that final. I wasn't
the
overly
championship
impressed.
keeper that we've been linked to or looked at haven't done well in the finals because if you remember, David Raya
in his free that was rare. The season before he was shocking.
Can I say something in regards to that? Are we universally not for the sort of Ramsdale deal? Because I don't know any fan who's a pro Ramsdale guy.
For 20 million, you have to.
He's the worst keeper in the league, I think, and he's not even in the league anymore.
Exactly.
CK, you run your propaganda on it.
Pardon?
CK, you run your propaganda on him because you rate him worse than Leno, and you're like Leno's worst fan.
I think it's pretty known that I don't like Leno in it, and I think Leno is levels above this guy.
Look, you know what it is. I think with Leno, I really don't think that there's a market for him. So if I really predict this goalkeeper situation again, I feel as though we're looking for maybe a homegrown option, but we won't do it unless we have a buyer for Leno, right? And the idea is if we do get a buyer for Leno, then we'll get 2 keepers. But I don't see that happening personally. And I think what ends up happening is we do Onana late, like I said, because we know that he wants us and only us really as a preference. And I think we slap it very late into the window because he can't train, I believe, until September, isn't it, lads?
Yeah.
Until September.
But that means we don't have a normal second keeper. We have to take one of the youth keepers.
But that's fine because I think
that shouldn't be too bad. We got a Conquo.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say.
If he signs a new deal, though, isn't he?
No, I think he'll sign a new deal, especially with the way that he's been used this season. So I see that as the 3 keepers, right? And so while Onana can train in September, it's really a case of saving wages. I know people don't want to hear it, but why would you pay for somebody for 2 months of wages who can't train with us?
Yeah.
And so I see the logic in waiting, but also I really think the limiting factor here, guys, is that there isn't a buyer for Leno. And I feel like
I agree with George with that.
I think
there shouldn't be.
I'm going to head off real quick, but I just want to quickly say one last thing in terms of the Leno thing. Again, obviously, he came from the Bundesliga, in which he was a pretty decent keeper. And I think that's going to be the only market that accepts him. Again, it's the Bundesliga. We need to look at the teams that are available that need keepers. I think the likes of Stuttgart could use a new keeper. I think the likes of Hoffenheim will need a new keeper. So Leno will not be going to a European challenging team. He'll be going to a mid-table team, the likes of a Stuttgart, Hoffenheim, possibly a Hertha Berlin.
Step down.
And the issue there is
but
it's not even
he's got it in his mind, though, he's better
one
than
step
us.
down, George. It's 2 or 3 step downs because Hoffenheim again 2 or 3 years ago, easily Champions League team. But just like Schalke, they just had this massive drop off as soon as Nagelsmann left. Schalke had a similar thing when they lost 1 or 2 players. The German league does this. You can be like Wolfsburg. If they lose 1 or 2 players and they've just lost their manager, they finish top 4 this season. They genuinely could finish 12th, 13th next season. That's how the Bundesliga is. Leno either A, has to accept that he's not good enough to play for Bayern Munich, which is probably what he wanted. Let's be honest. He wanted to be the next Neuer. He thought he was. And he's going to either A, have to accept that and go to a Hoffenheim, or B, he can play out his contract at Arsenal. And I know which one I'd pick.
He wants to do
stay
that.
at Arsenal.
He wants
Of
to.
course he's going to play out his contract. Like yes, he would get minutes at Hoffenheim, but he'd be on a much less wage. They're not going to be able to pay him the wages he's on now. He will not be seen on a European stage, which means for him to get a big move, and he's 29, 30 now.
Yeah.
His career will be over at a top level. He will not get any higher than the level that he leaves to. So he's probably just going to say, you know what? I'll play out the contracts until I'm 32, 33. Leave
Gunnar Express, I've got a hypothetical for you, brother.
and join a German team. Yeah, good.
I've got a hypothetical for you. I know you're saying about the German clubs, but let's just say, for argument's sake, and this puts Arsenal in a situation. Let's say West Ham, who I think Fabianski is coming up to the end of his contract. Let's say they come in and bid for him.
Yeah.
Would you be okay with us selling to West Ham for a decent fee?
Yes, because I'm like CK. I don't think Leno is as good as people made out. Don't get me wrong. In his first 2 years, I was gassing him up, but I think it was that.
I still think
gas.
he's a bloody good shot stopper. I really do.
No, he is. Look, 100% he's a good
Well,
shot
he's just
stopper.
a pussy.
If you deny that, you're not watching him properly. But the one thing nowadays, in the olden days of football, and I think this is where Arsenal fans especially struggle, because a lot of Arsenal fans just look at the past. They're not looking at now. They're not looking at the future. They always say, oh, but this is how we were for the last 10 years. Well, we need to be different because the last 10 years has been a failure. It's the same thing with players. Players develop. Fullbacks now aren't just defensive. Back in the day, if you were a good defensive fullback but had no attacking ability, it didn't matter.
Gary Neville.
Nowadays, you have to be good at attacking and defending, which is why Trent, yes, he's brilliant at attacking, but he's not a good defender, which is why he's still not a good fullback. But I think it's similar with keepers. Back in the day, if you were a good shot stopper, that was it. You were one of the best goalkeepers in the league or in the world, whatever else. Nowadays, you have to be good at kicking and distribution. You have to be good under the pressure. You have to be good at, 8 different things, which is why football as a sport is so difficult to be good at, because you need to be good at so many things in one position. Leno isn't that, and he's too old to develop that. So I'd sell him to West Ham, because I don't think he'd improve. I think, if anything, he'd actually downgrade from Fabianski, because Fabianski can kick a ball. That's one thing that guy can do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I mean, you can imagine someone like Moyes would take a risk on him, because for him, build-up play is important.
And again, I'd sell him. I'd definitely sell him. If the fee was good, if it was 18 to 20 million, I'd say, you know what?
Yeah.
You're making a mistake signing him for that money.
I mean, and it would suit Moyes, though, wouldn't it? Because he doesn't mind the ball going long to his players. He doesn't mind the direct kick out.
They have big players.
Look at Antonio. He's a very tall, physical player. Leno and Antonio won't work because Antonio likes the ball from Fabianski.
He do excellent at West Ham, when you think about it. The only thing is, I just don't know if there's that many room for transactions. I've talked to this about CK a lot. Like, it's not a monetary thing for me, right? It's more, do we have time to complete this many deals, in a sense? And so that would be my only hesitation with selling Leno, because I don't think he's good enough. But do I trust us to then be able to get another keeper in addition to Onana that is of the required level? I don't know. So I actually oddly may prefer him to run out his contract. That might be controversial, but I just think we're a summer beat behind being able to address that right now. But I think he should go. So if we did get a 20 million bid, I would probably do it and just say screw it, because that's good money. right? Who can turn that down?
Yeah, I don't. I think I would say the money as well. Because
Yeah,
I think
just real quick, guys. I'm going to head off, but appreciate you guys having me on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Cheers,
yeah.
man. Thanks for coming on.
Stay safe, Guna.
Yeah,
You
you
should
too,
come. You
man.
should come back on, buddy. You should come back on and have another chat sometime. Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever you guys post a link, I'll jump back on
Yeah,
again. But again,
for sure.
appreciate it. Guys.
Yeah. Cool.
Cheers, mate.
All
Have a
right.
good one.
Cheers,
Yeah,
mate. Have a good one. Take care.
But yeah, no, I think the Leno one, it is a worthy discussion, lads, because I know it's controversial. I'd let him run out his contract personally, because the way I see it is I want Onana to have some time and an environment to adapt, really. So he
How many
won't get
years is left?
started until November.
Is it 1 or 2 years?
He's got 2 years left. But
No,
the thing
2
is,
years.
the only thing is with him also having 2 years left is he's not on like low wages. I think he's on like 90k a week, isn't he? Yeah, exactly. He's on 90k a week.
That's a decent wage.
It is a decent wage where really you could look to cut down on the amount of times Arsenal have come out and said, well, you know, we're a Europa League team working on a Champions League's wage bill. Now we're not even a Europa League team working on a Champions League's wage bill. So we do need to cut that wage bill down. And if we can get someone homegrown in who's on maybe 30 to 40k a week, then that's much better.
But again, mate, like, you know how I look at it, where Onana will be the number one, but fundamentally, even like he'll take a while to get going too. You know, like I know he'll be training since September, but you know, he won't have a competitive game until November, and then we get into the Christmas period. So I don't think it's smart playing wise to let him go, even if we were to get a buyer in Jan, to be honest with you. I think it would be a risk.
Yeah.
So I would actually keep him until the summer and just take the hit. It'll be a cheap deal, but we've already bought his replacement, so I'm really not worried at that type of business. You know, I don't think that becomes a trend. It's just a unique situation that we need to tie over people where there's weird contract situations. So, and I believe in Arthur Okonkwo. That was the one thing I wanted to get out. I really believe in this kid. He's going to be a superstar for me. You know, he was having Dortmund chase him in terms of having professional contracts. He's had many top clubs, Leipzig. They all really want him, and there's a reason. Agree. So I want him third choice that becomes second choice next year. And when you look at the ages with Okonkwo and Onana, that's excellent age gaps in terms of your progression, right? So I would definitely do that from a goalkeeping perspective.
Only thing is like you said you don't look at links, and I know you don't, but it's just like if you do, like it looks like we really are looking for a homegrown goalkeeper. If you look at all the links we're looking for, there's quite a few homegrown goalkeepers we are linked with.
I think again that's just us doing due diligence, though, mate. Like I think links definitely have a point, but again, it kind of depends if Leno has a buyer, right? So like we probably want to sell Leno, and in that case, we really should be looking at two keepers, right? But we don't pull the plug on two keepers unless we have a buyer done for Leno, kind of thing. Yeah. So we do have to definitely look and send links.
I think, George, I found that guy who tweeted, it was AFC James, tweeted this morning, and he said something really smart. He said, look,
he's a good mate.
If we were going to get Onana, then we don't want to get him first and confirm that signing without having at least, if we're going to move on Leno. Because then if we've got two goalkeepers, what's the... someone trying to buy Leno will be saying, well, look, you've got to get rid of a goalkeeper. We know that. So why should we pay you what you're asking for?
Yeah.
So you guys, I think people have to be clever about this and understand there is strategy going on all the way through these transfer dealings where we make our move.
I want to let you finish that point, though. But after you do, I want to kind of move on to something a bit more interesting. But I will let you finish that point, though.
I'm just saying, Karen, that look, I think some fans don't see there's a strategy being played behind the transfers and when we sell and who we sell to. All those transfers at the moment that we're lining up to sell all have a strategy behind it in terms of when the price is revealed, because that gets leaked out. I know we're a club famous for not revealing either selling price or the buying price, because we want to make sure that we control the market as best we can, because I think but these kind of things always get leaked out from the buying club or the selling club that we're selling to, right? But I think it's like a game of poker. Sometimes, like, for example, when Marseille went and bought Gerson, I mean, that was a dumb move by them. You went and bought Gerson, and you're going to tell us that you can't pay for Guendouzi. Well, that's not going to wash with us.
And that's the thing, and that's why we did the extra extension. And the only reason I want to build off this is because there was a great link to Boubacar Kamara, who I absolutely love as a player. That happened today. And when you're looking at it, I think a Matteo Guendouzi and Kamara swap would be unbelievable, because he's in the last 18 months of his contract. This is a guy that, is a center back, DM, right back, defensive utility. For me, he's best as a DM sitter, and he's got unbelievable potential. And, he really is kind of, a Samare light in terms of what he offers on the ball and then off it as well. And he's just an absolute quality DM. And if we're looking at increasing the floor of this team, I think that's a deal I would pursue, in terms of trying to see if we can swap Matteo Guendouzi or even just buy Kamara and give them Matteo. I think they're similar prices as well, right? Matteo has 2 years now. Kamara has 18 months on his contract. So they're not in a great situation. And there's clearly interest because we've got a link there today. Now, that would be a signing that I would be very excited about.
I must have got that wrong now. I thought it was in the final year of his deal, but like Kamara as well. I'm totally with George on this one. I think he's a great player, and he's been around for years now. Like he's still so young. Yeah. He's already been around for years. And I looked at him when he played centre back a couple of years ago, and I thought he was
21 years of age, mate.
Yeah, he was great at centre back. Then he went to, as you said, he played a bit of right back, and I thought, okay, he's doing a job there. Didn't think he was as good, but I still thought he was pretty decent. And then he went to DM, and he was even better than what I saw at centre back. I love this kid.
And sorry, mate, you know what? You're right. I'm wrong. It's not 18 months. He is in the last year. His contract expires summer 2022. Yeah. So that's a deal that I could see us actually working to do. And you know what? That's smart business, guys.
Yeah, like that's what I was about to say. Smart business. And Arsenal don't do it often, but that would be really smart business, and that would soften the blow of not getting tomorrow.
Demasio has said that the fee for Tavares is 15 million euros, and he's going to join Arsenal.
Oh, is that confirmed?
Who said that? Who said that? Sorry.
Demasio and he said it via Napoli report.
Oh, right. Was this last night though? Was this a new report that's come out?
15 minutes ago. This was 15 minutes ago.
Oh,
because the Italians keep on saying much higher fee than what the Portuguese are reporting, and you know what the Portuguese are like.
Mate? I think it's the add-ons. I bet you that we only pay 6 million, and it's like the full deal is 15 million.
Yeah. Because I think the Portuguese are usually the ones who love to blow a figure up, don't they?
Yeah.
For their audience.
Well, Z tweeted though, didn't he? Z said it was 7 million, I think, and then 4 million in add-ons.
There you go. So it's the total deal.
That roughly sounds like what we were being quoted on the British press, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think Ornstein said about £10 million.
Well, yeah,
he said less than 10 million euros. I think.
Right? He said 8 million, maybe in and around 8 million euros.
There you go. So that's that's a decent deal, lads. Like I like that deal, And look, I think it might be controversial.
It seems to me that Kolasinac is definitely gone.
Yeah,
100%. He's gone the minute we threw him out the club. Really, last winter.
Well, I think he's the one that's the last of that group where Josh will pay off his contract. I actually don't. We're not going to get a fee or anything for him, but he'll be paid off for sure.
Yeah.
But lads, that's a great deal.
Can we not get a fee? Can we not get just 1 million euros or something?
He's on 120k a week.
Yeah, no, we're not getting a fee for him. Yeah, from them high rates. And he's going to isn't he going to Fenerbahce or something like that?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So
we have so many bad contracts.
I don't know about you guys, but for me, are you just not tired of this? Are you not tired of it? It's not even July yet. I'm tired of this transfer season. I'm so.
It's the nature of Arsenal.
As all four of you know, this is my first Arsenal Twitter window. I've never been I've been a fan since I was 5 years old. I've never been on Arsenal. The only news I ever used to follow was the BBC gossip column. That was the only thing I ever used to follow before. I didn't know who Fabrizio Romano was until March. So I had no clue about any of these transfer things, and it's 1 month in, and it's doing my nut in. And it's,
you know what it is, mate? It's about understanding media narratives. So I use Neves and Ramsdale as perfect examples where we probably want a homegrown goalkeeper, and we probably want a partner for Thomas Partey. I doubt we want that profile for Thomas Partey, but the link appears. And so what you have to pull from those stories is let's not get anxious that we're getting Ramsdale or a Neves. Let's pull the fact we're looking for a homegrown goalkeeper, or let's pull from the fact we're looking for a partner for Thomas Partey. That's where I think you have to have those goggles on for news, right? And when you look at it, I think, again, look at our strategy where what were the gaps in our squad that we can fulfill without major departures? And then it starts to make sense. So while I thought that the Tavares was unique because it's one of the first things that we've gone outside the Premier League for, there's been, and it's happened within 1 day, but it was a gap in our squad that we needed to address before bigger signings. So it made sense to me, right? But there's just ways that you can decipher the transfer market, and I just think we as fans need to calm down.
George, the other thing I would say to people is, look, don't believe everything that gets published in The Athletic, because they told us that Odegaard was the number one target. They told us that we were after a young. Sorry, first it was an experienced left back, then it was a young left back, then it was now we've bought a foreign left back. So the truth is, the reality is, the club is very good at putting out information when they want to disguise their trail in terms of trying to get deals through. And it makes sense. Why would you want to give anyone a heads up on who you're trying to sort of target in terms of profile and location? Because it gives your rivals a heads up as well. So you've got a lot of agents who know roughly what we're going to want to do, and they will put out stories through the outlets to be able to sort of get their players noticed. And this is what happens. Arsenal get players noticed, right? You put their name into the mix, your player gets more clicks, more notification. I mean, I think if you guys... Do you remember that Nantes player? That got transferred over to Cardiff. Do you remember the poor guy who died?
Salah.
Yeah. So I mean, I remember watching the documentary about how the agents went about drumming up fake interest in him to try to get Cardiff to think there's loads of clubs after him. In reality, they were just targeting. They were like literally just conning Cardiff into paying a big transfer fee for him to get him over. And to be honest, his home club, Nantes, were trying desperately to sell him as high a fee as possible in that window. And so they got these agents to go and sell him. So it's cutthroat business out there. You know, the agent's job is to get their client's name out into the paper, make up false rumors, get interest in their player, and to get them sold, right? And that's how they make their money in their commission. So I think fans need to be clever. I think they need to read between the lines sometimes and understand what the club are trying to do and what the club aren't trying to do. And I think sometimes fans just have this ability. I'd like to think some of these fans are new to the Twitter sort of transfer thing, maybe like Karen. But I've got this funny feeling that they love and enjoy having a bit of melodrama every time they hear a transfer story, and they've been doing this for years.
They try and make it seem as if you should take every single link seriously. But no way your club's going to sign 30 different players in one window. And we've been linked to 30 plus. So how can you sit there and take 30 different links seriously? That just doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, with the media, like what's been going on for years, and I hope Arsenal fans, as I said, if you're more seasoned in it, you'll know. But the media, they love to hate on Arsenal because they know it gets clicks. So they'll know the names that will piss you off, and they will link us to them names so they click and get their money and get them, get their clicks up. So really, sometimes you just gotta not take notice because sometimes they just don't know. Like Thomas Partey last season, let's be honest, every single platform was telling us we're not signing. Apart from AFC Bell, every single person was telling us we're not signing him. We don't have the money. Same with Pepe. It just happens every year. You just got to take no notice of it.
It's why I don't look at links, guys. It's honestly why I say I don't look at what I look for is a convergence, and it lets me know a plan. And that's how I tease out different things in terms of the transfer window, right? Like I don't think that there is somebody that's got 100% hit record. There never will be. But the one thing that you can look at is hopefully when you see a large amount of stories converging, that for me is kind of a precedent. And then I start to tease out, look, are these the same profile of players? Or is this a priority in our team? And that's when I kind of decide, oh, this makes sense, or oh, that makes sense. So I think going back to just to try to help some of the viewers, if you guys are looking at, define what a Mikel Arteta player is first for you guys. It'll help your anxiety. We've said it a lot of times in the past, but I'll just really quickly go over it. They have to be a versatile player. They have to be a ball-carrying progressor, and they have to be very athletic over both the first 5 yards, but also the next 15 yards. And so those are really the big core fundamentals of a big, Mikel Arteta player. So if you're looking at players that don't hit those, you can kind of calm down the links on it.
I was talking earlier about the about what the fan base, what I wasn't happy about with the fan base. But one thing I can say, and one thing I am proud about this fan base is I love the community around Bell. I love it. It's the most, like, it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, people love this guy. It's like a cult. Yeah, it's a weird cult. And literally like whenever this man posts, like it got to the point at one point that whenever I saw Arabic on the timeline, I was like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah,
What's
people
going
now
on?
being Arabic, and people just
Harry, no,
trust.
there's context of Bell. I mean, Bell was around a long time before, but I think, when we went into the first lockdown, for me, Bell was the only guy reporting some good, positive news. And initially, everyone just wanted to believe it. It seemed like fantasy, right? I remember telling lots of my friends who are supporters of other clubs that, we're seriously after Thomas Partey, and they were like, where are you getting this information from? And as time went on, he had more and more information, and when it all came through at the end, I mean, the guy was a hero, man. He was a real hero because everybody denied the story, and he stuck to his guns. Do you know what I mean? And that's why he's become a legend.
He really
Twitter.
has. He really has. Like people, like you go through his replies and the quote tweets, and everyone is like posting that Ronaldo celebration consistently.
Yeah, every time
whenever.
I'm there, I'm posting it.
Literally, when he's like this and he's holding his hands, and he's like.
On this window, though, like for me, what is it? Like the 29th, 28th of June, and we look to have 3 deals done. 3 income.
That's what I was gonna say, mate.
So like White looks done. Lokonga looks done and Tavares looks done, and to have that done before May is even over, and because I think everybody has stated that we need a big overhaul. So for me, we look very proactive to have 3 deals essentially done, and
not only that, TK, we've got a whole load of deals lined up to go out. There's concrete, solid discussions with deals lined up to go out. So
I'm as excited to see XHAKA and Guendouzi go, not because of they're actually leaving, but just to know that people are going to be coming in to replace them. I think that's when
me too,
really seeing people come in once them two go.
And I remember I try to always tell people, let's have a look back at what we've done at the beginning of the window, right? Which was we've removed £710,000 a week, and we've removed 3 foreign playing spots immediately. So right now, we have the ability to bring in 3 foreign players on whatever wage we want, in addition to what we might do in the future, right? So you combine that with XHAKA right away, that's £800,000. We got plus 4 playing spots, right? Mateo, who's almost out, that it's not really a foreign playing spot per se because we left him out on loan, but that's just another piece of business that we're adding to the wage bill being due.
Yeah.
So it's immensely encouraging. And I don't remember a time, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, that we've basically secured a £50 million deal in the first 2 weeks of the window opening. Has that happened?
It's crazy. No, I don't think it has. I think that is the first time that has ever happened, and I think that shows you where Arsenal are looking to go in direction. I think
that 50 mil won't be our marquee.
I think that is a really big stepping point, which I think Arsenal fans do need to look up, because we do focus on the negative too much, and I think this is a positive step that I think we do need to look at. And also with the amount of deals we've lined up on players going, like how many times have we seen deals drag because we're penny pinching? This year we're just saying fuck it, get them out. You're seeing XHAKA go for cheaper, Guendouzi going for cheaper because they just want them gone so they can replace them, and that is why I'm so excited for this window. Also, with the XHAKA and Guendouzi going, I'm excited because I don't know the DM we're going to be getting in. Like, if we're getting the attacking mid in, it looks like it would be like a James Maddison. We look like we're already getting Ben White in. That's why I'm so excited to see who the DM is, because we don't know 100% who it's going to be. Same with the right back situation. I'm excited for this window.
Yeah, and that's why I say you pair together a Ben White, who traditionally, again, you look back, not a marquee signing, but when Arsenal said, screw it, I'm going to pop down £50 million on a signing that isn't a marquee, but in the same breath, I'm going to get rid of my biggest technical leader and dressing room influence in Granit Xhaka for a cut price deal. When have we acted so ruthlessly to the market? I don't know. So look, that's not to say though that we're going to do everything and anything. I'm just saying I just hope people can look at those positive indicators and be realistic about the window, right? And actually start saying there's a clear difference in policy at Arsenal Football Club this season that isn't the same to other seasons. Walking away from Buendia, I think that said a lot, right? I kept going back. There's no way that, I hope people understand now that we rejected Buendia and it wasn't the other way around, because how are you sitting there spending £50 million on Ben White if you felt that Buendia was your number one target and you're walking away at 40 million? It doesn't make sense to me. So I just hope fans can understand that we're reestablishing our authority in the market. I've told this to Willow, and some other spaces, these actions, while we take hits or not, they're clinical, they're precise, but always they're in mind with Arsenal having their foothold above in the deal. So what I mean by that, in the Granit Xhaka case, we're not letting somebody drag us around and not kind of complete that deal. We're saying, screw it, we'll let you go. In terms of the Buendia, we're walking away as opposed to caving into demands. Mavropanos, people smudged that deal, but guys, Stuttgart's record transfer fee was 9 million euros. Yeah. So we sold him for 7 million euros with a sell-on clause that, by the way, will become the record transfer fee. So, and if you look at it, actually, sell-on clauses is something that Richard Garlick has introduced. Zach Medley, Mark McGuinness, Mavropanos, all three have had sell-on clauses. So, look, I'm just trying to tell everybody these are the business indicators that we've done that is different from the past, right? And I think that's how you can be excited for this window. And let's see what happens.
For me, it's just sorry, George. Finish your point, and then I'll come.
Yeah, I was just going to say again in our marquee signings. By the way, guys, that happens when our departures leave. So Granit Xhaka being officially confirmed as leaving will mean the first choice DM will probably know. We will know that link. I would bet within a week of having confirmed that departure. In terms of the AM, I think we have the space because Ceballos and Odegaard have left, right? So in terms of squad management, we can bring that attacking midfielder in without expecting a departure. But we're just waiting because I think that's the marquee.
We said Boubacar what's the name? Kamara.
Yeah.
I was going to say Samari for some reason, as I've got it in my mind now. But let's say that interest is real and serious. And obviously, you reckon, in your opinion, he's going to come in and play hopefully DM because you think that's a strong point. So if that's the case, I'm assuming we still go for an AM, an attacking midfielder. Do we still go for another 8?
Well, if
he's a player.
I would do in that case if we are, because Kamara wouldn't be a lot of money, right? So I would say you'd have a decent chunk of change to do another signing. I would do a Houssam Aouar in that case, who's a massively versatile player that could play at the left wing as an option, but also could be that left center mid 8. Because when you're looking at Maddison, he's really quite versatile. I know he played at a left CM 8. For Brendan's season, the past season, but he really is that attacking midfielder. So my next 8 per se would be still in the left half space / left wing, and Houssam Aouar would be my next bet if Kamara is the purchase at DM, because he couldn't be more than £20 million, right? And even that is quite a bit. I would say 15.
I was going to say I don't even think 20. Yeah, 15.
Yeah, and so in that sense,
I think we Guendouzi like fee for him. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I think they're both on par for each other. So, yeah, but I mean, this is what I'm saying. I was saying this the other day. I was saying that ideally, I'd like to have 4 CMs that we could rotate and sort of. For me, the most important aspect with those 4 CMs is that we could actually rotate and play any combination without having the quality drop.
Exactly. And Kamara, so you look at it, Kamara and Basuma at DM, and then you've got Lukunga and Partey as your 8 conductors. That's exciting.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
So, and even with Maddison, you don't really need an attacker. You guys all know, I think Keto Taylor-Hart is that ready that he's going to be, not a fixture, but he will be an option at left wing that we can definitely count on. And that's why I think we don't really need to push for a left wing option personally. So when you look at who can actually play there and who can function, we can have ESR and Maddison play together, but at the same time you could have Maddison and Akito there if ESR needs a rest. I don't think we really need another option. I still would do Basuma probably again. Nam, if I had it gun to my head where you're like, George, we're getting Kamara, we need another purchase, what would you do? Probably still would do another deeper 8, just because I think we have enough in attack that we don't really need to kind of look at that.
I mean, do you understand my theory about having 4 interchangeable CMs? Because I think what's happened previously, I think the 4 CMs that we've had, we've realised that some of those pairings don't work.
Well, so you can sell on El Neni too, right? You don't need it.
So I mean, I think my frustrating as a supporter is if we couldn't play someone like El Neni and Ceballos together, because it just didn't really work. You could see it that they didn't have the chemistry on and the sort of like technical cohesion in midfield, and that's huge when you're trying to look at partnerships. So I think the profile of players you bring in, you think the first thing that goes into my mind is looking at how would they combine as a midfield pairing, and would they be flexible enough to play with each other in different pairings.
But that's why I'm so excited about a Kamara link mate, because when you look at Lukunga, who basically is done, I think we can all agree that seems to be done. Who would be the best pairing to facilitate a Lukunga in the future? Kamara. Like, he's a standing DM. He's in that Basuma mold where he's a 1v1 duel expert. You know, he does have progressive passing, but he's not an elite conductor, but he's a facilitator. And that's what myriads Lukunga so well. And when you look at, you know, hopefully a Basuma with a Partey, you end up seeing like the same profile between these two. And those age gaps are actually perfect, right? Like Basuma, I believe, is 25, right? He might be turning 26 the following summer, and you're getting a Kamara who's probably aged around 22 or 21 right now, right? So you've got 4 or 5 years between the two. Same thing with Lukunga.
24, 25 this year.
Basically it's about combining profiles that mesh together well, and combining them, as George was saying, making sure that age gaps is so you can have partnerships developing and peaking at specific times. So if you want to have, for example, an Aziz Lukunga partnership, fine. I understand.
I don't think you can do that, by the way.
I don't think you can do it, but I understand the
the
reasoning in
same.
terms of. I understand the reasoning in terms of age. My point was with ages, not the profiles. So
I think he could eventually. I think it depends how Aziz develops. I think Aziz got the potential to develop into a 10 if he works on his game. You know,
definitely.
I think you waste him at you waste him at a 10. He's a 6. He's 6 going backwards. It's not 8 going forwards for me. I don't see him going into a 10. It's just his passing ranges is more of an expansive passing range instead of being able to spam through. So I think that's what you're saying. But the main thing is you have to look at the types of you have to look at the types of profiles and the ages that are able to flourish together. So it's not just Aziz as well. There's also people like Charlie Patino coming through, which I think that if he develops in terms of physicality wise, he is a real talent. I mean, there's other we do have a lot of, if you go back and look through the under 23 podcast we did, there's a lot of young talent coming through at this point in time. So in terms of what we're looking at in the market, you've got to look at someone like a Kamara. I do like, but Kamara I only do like if we're doing a swap deal for Guendouzi. I do not want to pay over the odds for another player coming in.
I don't think we will, though, Karen. I think if we're serious about that, I think that's a perfect deal in terms of how Marseille got issues with paying for Guendouzi by the looks of it. That's why they keep on sending out that little story in L'Equipe saying we're being stingy with greedy with the fee.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is how transfers work.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was MUC FC No Cap coming through though. Was that you coming through? But I
think it was Jimmy.
I think it was it Jimmy or who was that?
Yeah, hello. Yeah, what's going on, lads?
What's up, John? What's up, John?
Sorry, I didn't hear you. What did you say?
I said, well, what are your thoughts on the midfield partnerships coming through?
Oh, what in terms of the academy one you're talking about mostly?
Because if we're selling XHAKA and if we're buying someone like Lukunga and the links with Kamara, Guendouzi, etc., what are your thoughts on midfield going forward?
I mean, Kamara straight off the bat, I'll be honest, I've not really watched him before, so I can't really have an informed opinion on him. But from what I've heard, he's quite decent. But he used to play centre back, if I'm correct. Am I right?
He's a utility player, mate. He's played DM quite a bit too, and that's where I see him personally.
I've heard that he's kind of like transitioned into a DM. They tried him a lot at centre back, and they kind of because I think he doesn't have the height for centre back. If I'm correct, that's the first thing that kind of links. That makes sense. So they transitioned him into a DM. But what's interesting is that I'm pretty sure those links probably last year that Man City were really, really interested in him.
Yeah, I heard that as well.
Yeah, not like 1 or 2 reports, but there was a lot. So I don't know if they're looking at him to replace what's that DM? Yeah, Fernandinho, maybe. Obviously, I don't know.
Yeah, both Man City and United were interested in Matt.
Yeah, I think Man City looked at his profile a lot, though. I think they're sticking around a lot.
And United, they desperately need a DM. That makes sense. But in terms of the young ones, I think. Say that again?
Yes, that's why I was so happy to see the link mate for us because that's an immense deal to do, where we end up swapping Matteo Guendouzi, and we can be creative with that kind of deal. And the only thing I wanted to get across was why the 4 CMs is so important, because I know people looked at us and said we had no creativity last season, but I really felt that was because we had no central progression. And so a big reason that Arteta told everyone to come back and help out is because we had no technical quality in the back line.
Yeah, you know, when you talk about progression, I was thinking about this the other day, and I think it's really criminal, right, that we have Ceballos, El Nene, XHAKA, who really can't run with the ball. I was thinking about that, and I think that's really outrageous. Having 3 kind of starting midfielders, obviously El Nene not too much, but definitely XHAKA and Ceballos, and they can't run with the ball like even in 5 yards.
No, then it's an outrage.
For me, honestly, when I obviously looking at it now, this was time ago, but at the end of the day, it's really shocking when you think about it.
This is what I've been saying.
Yeah, who has put this midfield together and thought, yeah, this is what we can run with? It's impossible.
This is the main point I want to get across. It's a very important point.
So because I've always said we need always to go back to our roots. Our roots is 2-way midfielders that can do it going back and forwards, Vieira-esque. It's literally simple.
So basically, the main point I was trying to get across, and why I'm so frustrated with what the narratives are at this point, is the fact of the matter is we have built a terrible squad. It's unbalanced, and it's not something that is. It's not something that can compete with the top. It's a team that should finish 8th. Let's be real. I mean, we should
maybe 6 or 7.
6 or 7. Yeah, maybe 8th is a bit of a stretch. Maybe 6 or 7. And we're happy with that. And people just want to go, okay, let's bring a new guy in. Maybe let's bring like a Nuno in, or someone, or Roberto Martinez, or Allegri, or some of the names I've heard. And it's just like, oh, they're gonna spend all this money, and they're gonna turn everything around, and everything's gonna be fine. It's not. It's only that Arteta doesn't want to spend the money, and he's just
move on from Arteta, because the Arteta debate right now is
it's ridiculous.
Well,
it's mad.
He doesn't achieve anything.
The point I'm trying to make is that this is an accumulative problem. This is not something that is it's just literally happened in the past year, and everything's gone to crap, and it's just Arteta's fault. And everything is Edu's fault and Arteta's fault and nothing else. If it wasn't for them, we'd be competing with the Champions League right now.
No, it's going to be on my timeline tomorrow, clipped up by the Arteta haters saying, "Oh, look at this guy." I'm very.
You already know, Willow. He's just going to be like, "Bring it on, bring it on."
Please.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, FC No Cap. I'm guessing you're a United fan, right?
Yeah.
Mr. No Cap.
Yeah, I'm a United fan.
Okay, yeah. So as a United fan, yesterday you got, yesterday right now, one of your best players, Pogba, got knocked out of the Euros. What did you make of Pogba's performance in the Euros?
Well, it's typical Pogba for France, isn't it? He's really amazing for France, because I think with Kante next to him, he just gives him license to do whatever he wants. Because people are blaming him for the second or third goal when he lost the ball in the middle of the pitch. Oh, that's the problem with being a deep line playmaker. You're gonna lose the ball eventually, or sometimes. So I just feel like when he gave away a goal like that, it's gonna happen with him. But his offensive presence is mad. He's gonna create those goals. But I do feel like Mbappe did cost the game for France, really.
I will say Pogba's penalty was elite. His penalty was very
top
good.
Can I quickly just add something on Pogba? Yeah, let's just say that every club could have like a lab where you could create your player, right? If you wanted to create a midfielder, I'm not even joking. I think the midfielder you would create would look a lot like Pogba in terms of attributes.
Physically, but not mentally.
Honestly, he's got everything that you want. Obviously, now you might pick certain parts of his game, blah blah. We all understand it, but I'm talking about if you want to make a midfielder, honestly, lots of attributes will be compared to Pogba, if that makes sense. Someone that tall has immense technical quality, unbelievable. Left foot, right foot is not a problem. He can hit it with lots of different techniques. He's unbelievable, that guy. But yeah, that's my input.
Yeah, with Pogba, I think his quality. I think everybody knows his quality, but I don't think he ever had the mentality to be the best, because I think he has the tools to play the positions that he's been played by Oli, but mentally, I don't think he ever wants to limit himself in his eyes to do. But we have spoke about a lot, and I think it's getting time to end it. I think we've had a lot of people on. Willow, Haas, Han, Brad, Z was on, Daniel was on, Guna Express was on. Yeah, and I just wanted give everybody the chance to like shout at their socials and if they have anything coming up. So thank you again, MUFC No Cap, for popping in at the end.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
Nom, thanks again for coming on.
Cheers, bro. Thanks for having me on as usual. So really getting time for me to have my nap, or else I won't be able to get up tomorrow morning. So I want to just thank everyone else for listening in. I've actually got my name tagged on there, thank God, because I forget it all the time. So it's there if those people want to find me on Twitter.
Yeah,
before Willow goes, quick happy birthday to the guy.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
happy birthday, bro.
Happy birthday,
boys.
Happy birthday, Willow. Yeah.
Thank you very much,
We had
boys.
Willow on again.
Pardon?
I said we had Willow on again.
Yeah,
again, yeah.
back again, you know. Happy to be on, a pleasure as usual. Make sure you're following Ball Over Passion. I hope I got
That's
that
my
right.
guy. That's my
There you
guy.
go. Like and subscribe. These boys are going big. They're doing well. They're doing well.
Thanks,
Love
guys.
the content, and they give a
Thanks,
different
guys.
diversity to Arsenal.
We got Jimmy Conway who popped in at the end.
Yeah, man, thank you very much. I thought it was gonna be. I literally thought you started now, but it's fine. Yeah, I can't lie.
I've been tweeting literally the entire time.
Yeah, no, I've
Sorry,
been busy
Jimmy.
for the
Jimmy
last
will be on
hour.
early next time. I reckon.
Yeah,
I'm
hopefully.
sure.
But yeah, thank you very much for having me, man. And hopefully I'll be on next time as well. Thanks.
As always, George.
Yeah, I'm just at George V AFC. I like this. This isn't something I've done quite before. I like these version of our spaces. Hopefully you guys, make sure you comment if you like this kind of vibe. I know it's a little bit different from what other people are doing, but we hope that this is something that you guys like and we can kind of continue these a lot more regularly. So if you do like it, please like the video so we know, comment that you do enjoy these formats, and please subscribe. I don't know where we're at now, but we must be close to 300 subscribers. And I know that's something, a little milestone that the lads want to.
I think it's 293, 294, something like that.
Perfect. So make sure that you guys click that subscribe, but I'll always be here.
More to come.
We have Karen.
Right, the finger. Where's the finger? Is it gonna go right? Is it gonna go
Right
right?
hand, mate.
Oh yeah.
So old.
It's done. I don't have my glasses on, but I think that's no. Oh, yeah.
No, it's not there.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you can see it's CC_BOP2.
CC underscore BOP.
There
There we go.
Follow him on Twitter. For me, it's POCKK.
And make sure, again, I'm going to say it again just to start off. Please like, subscribe, comment, follow the Twitter at Ball Over Passion, and share the video. And we've started a TikTok as well, where it's basically me with my fail reactions. So enjoy. I hope you enjoy that. Enjoy the content, and thank you guys for coming in. I'm gonna sign off now. Bye bye.